After my husband died in battle, I left home and traveled the world for 3 years. When I finally returned, I brought back my husband, the man who had died yet lived again though he had lost his memory. This should have been a joyous occasion, yet my eldest brother-in-law, Yanjung, stormed over with a face twisted in fury. My eldest brother-in-law, heedless of propriety between men and women, seized my wrist in an iron grip and snarled, "Sister-in-law, where did you dig up this impostor?" I gave a faint smile. "Big brother, I am my husband's wife. I know every inch of his body as intimately as the palm of my own hand. How could I possibly mistake my own husband?" Yanjung's expression changed in an instant. He refused to believe it could be real. From that day forward, he could only watch helplessly as my fake husband and I remained passionately entwined, day and night. My big brother was on the verge of madness. He tore away the disguise to reveal the so-called truth. "I am your husband. He is the impostor." I curved my lips into a charming smile, leaned close to his ear and whispered sweetly, "You could fake your death and change your face just to carry on a secret affair with our eldest sister-in-law. So why shouldn't I find someone to change his face into your likeness?" The news that I had brought my husband back to the capital spread through the Yan residence like wildfire. The old madam led the entire household to greet the returning family member. The moment she laid eyes on my husband, Mother's tears fell in streams. "It really is my son. It's wonderful that you've come home." My husband performed the proper greetings with flawless grace, every gesture and movement radiating the refined bearing of a noble family's young master, without the slightest flaw. "My son has returned. These 3 years must have caused your mother endless suffering. This son has been unfilial." I chose that moment to interject gently. "Mother, 3 years ago, husband suffered grave injuries and lost his memory. There are some matters he no longer recalls clearly, but please rest assured husband's body remains strong, and his old wounds no longer trouble him." My husband turned to me, eyes brimming with tender affection. I slipped my arm through his, the picture of a devoted couple whose love was as sweet as honey. Just then, someone who had heard the news came rushing over. None other than my eldest brother-in-law, Yanjung. The instant he saw my husband, Yanjung's handsome face twisted almost grotesquely. I reminded my husband softly, "Husband, this is your elder brother." My husband nodded, his expression showing nothing but the joy of reunion with kin. "Big brother, second brother has returned." Yanjung's steps faltered. His face looked as though he had swallowed a live fly. I feigned confusion. "Big brother, why do you look so strange? Aren't you happy that my husband has returned?" Yanjung's complexion shifted from green to white, then flushed crimson. His gaze locked onto my husband's face, desperately searching for even the tiniest imperfection. In the next breath, he actually reached out, pinched my husband's cheek, and yanked hard. My husband winced and flung Yanjung's hand away. "Big brother, what is the meaning of this? Little Tang told me you are the elder brother I have always respected most. Yet the moment you see me return from the dead you behave this way?" Yanjung's expression now resembled someone who had seen a ghost rather than swallowed a fly. All color drained from his face. "Impossible. Second brother clearly died in battle 3 years ago." Before he could finish, the old madam's resounding slap sent his head whipping to the side. "You unfilial wretch. Your second brother barely survived and returned home, yet you curse him so viciously? Invite the couple from the second branch inside at once." Yanjung staggered from the blow, face askew. The entire household rejoiced at my husband's return. I took my husband's arm and we walked through the gates together, faces radiant with joy. As we passed Yanjung, I deliberately nudged his arm and shot him a sidelong glance brief, yet full of meaning before retracting my gaze, not sparing him another thought. Yanjung seemed to sense something. He stared after us without blinking. That very day, the general's manor reported the news to the imperial court. Within the residence, a grand welcoming banquet was prepared to wash the dust of travel from my husband. Throughout the feast I remained radiant at his side, receiving guests and friends with perfect poise. Only when my eldest sister-in-law, Chunshi, finally appeared did I dab at non-existent tears with a handkerchief, and lean close to whisper, "Sister-in-law, at long last this little sister has endured every hardship and tasted sweetness. 3 years ago you mocked me newlywed, less than a year and already a widow. You even claimed my bitter fate had killed my husband. Looking back now, every word you spoke was nonsense. My good fortune still lies ahead." Chunshi had applied especially heavy makeup today, a thick layer of powder caked upon her face, yet it could not conceal her haggard pallor. She regarded me with a mixture of wariness and terror. I burst into laughter, the sound carrying a hint of madness. "Sister-in-law, what is that expression? Why do you look so flustered? What exactly are you afraid of?" Chen Shi forced a stiff smile and fled. Little sister must be jesting. I shall attend to the new guests. No sooner had she left than a maid hurried over. Second madam, the eldest master says he has an urgent matter and requests your presence. I was curious to see what Yanzheng wanted. I followed the little maid to the rear courtyard. Yanzheng had already dismissed all servants and ordered the maid to withdraw after guiding me inside. Disregarding all rules of propriety, my big brother suddenly lunged forward and seized my wrist in a crushing grip, teeth gritted. Little sister, where exactly did you find that impostor? I struggled, but his strength was overwhelming. Seeing him driven to the brink of madness, I smiled from the depths of my heart. I don't understand what big brother means. I am my husband's wife, the person who knows him best in this world. There is no part of his body I have not seen. Of course I would not mistake him. I laughed heartily, deliberately provoking him further. After I found my husband, we have been inseparable day and night. I can swear he is my true husband. Yanzheng's pupils dilated, his hands trembled with rage, his nostrils flared. He looked ready to spit the words shameless at me, but at the final moment, reason reclaimed him. He cannot possibly be real. Little sister, drive him away at once, or you will regret it for the rest of your life. I pretended not to understand. My husband has returned from the dead. The entire manor should celebrate. As his wife, I naturally must cherish him. Please, big brother, speak no more nonsense. Yanzheng ground his teeth. Chu Qingtang. I frowned, release me, and do not call me by my maiden name. I am your little sister. The address sister-in-law struck him like a fist to the chest. His body swayed, yet he still refused to let go. Only when an urgent voice rang out behind us did he falter. Let go of little Tang. My husband rushed forward, violently shoving Yanzheng's hand away. He pulled me into his arms with fierce possessiveness. Big brother, what is the meaning of this? Little Tang is my wife and your little sister. Your actions have crossed every line. My husband swept me away. After a few steps I glanced back at Yanzheng and gifted him a meaningful look. Let him stew in his own suspicions. Only when the opponent loses his mind can I seize the upper hand. When the banquet ended and night descended, my husband flushed from wine, eyes rimmed with red gazed at me with ever-deepening hunger. I knew well that a man who had tasted carnal pleasure was like a beast escaped from its cage, unable to endure even the gentlest breeze. He drew me close, fingers tracing lazy circles on my waist, and murmured against my ear with a low chuckle, Little Tang, how fortunate I am to have met you in this lifetime. Catching sight of a faint emerald jade pendant swaying, I deliberately met his eyes with a shy smile. Husband, from this day forward, let us live well together. Yanzheng finally snapped. He stepped out from the shadowed corner beneath the eaves, the dim lantern light casting his face in half light, half shadow. My husband and I had been home barely half a day. After the initial shock and fury, Yanzheng must have pieced together part of the truth by now. He blocked our path, his gaze dropping to the large hand resting possessively on my waist. You truly possess a face identical to second brother's, he said, voice laced with challenge. But I am his elder brother, I will not be deceived, either. Tell me, what little secrets did we brothers share in our youth? How cunning! Only Yanzheng himself knew those youthful secrets. Whether my husband answered or not, he could deny everything. My husband's expression never wavered. The corners of his mouth lifted slightly. Big brother, second brother has lost his memory. Everything I know was told to me by little Tang. As for any secrets between you and second brother, little Tang knows nothing and has never mentioned them to me. How could I possibly know? Yanzheng refused to relent. He laughed coldly, furious. Even with your memory gone, you trained in martial arts since childhood and possess peerless techniques. Do you dare spar with me? I allowed a flicker of panic to cross my face. Yanzheng noticed immediately and thought he had found the flaw. You don't dare? Or are you guilty? I looked helplessly at my husband. He patted the back of my hand reassuringly. Don't worry, little Tang. Though I was wounded, the skills I learned remain. Yanzheng summoned household guards and several deputy generals to serve as witnesses. I stood aside, twisting my handkerchief, my face a mask of anxiety. Chen Shi, clearly forewarned by Yanzheng, had regained her composure and stood beside me with a faint smile. Little sister, why so tense? Second brother's martial prowess has always surpassed his elder brother's. He will certainly suffer no loss. My expression remained filled with worry, until my husband's strike sent Yanzheng crashing to the ground. Only then did I slowly raise an eyebrow and turn my mockery upon Chen Shi. Sister-in-law, what is that look? You seem convinced I'm nervous. In this world, some things appear real yet are false. Others seem illusory yet prove true. Truth and falsehood are truly difficult to distinguish, aren't they, my dear sister-in-law? Now it was Chen Shi's turn to look horrified. Little sister, What exactly do you mean? I merely smiled and directed my gaze toward the martial platform. My husband glanced at me. I answered with a flirtatious look, then declared loudly, "My husband is truly valiant." Those words seemed to ignite something within him. Every technique he unleashed carried full force, driving Yanjung back step after step until the latter spat a mouthful of fresh blood. Had the deputy generals not repeatedly shouted for him to stop, my husband might have taught Yanjung a permanent lesson in humility. The general's strength has not only remained undiminished, it has grown. The Yan family's fist techniques have reached perfection. The deputy general's praise came straight from the heart. Yanjung looked utterly bewildered. How is this possible? Who are you? My husband half knelt before him. Big brother, of course I am your second brother. As Little Tang mentioned, I trained under grandfather since childhood and possess great talent in martial arts. Big brother even harbored resentment toward me because of it. Now that we have both grown and established ourselves, we should unite to honor our ancestors. Surely Big Brother does not still begrudge me simply because he cannot defeat me? I stepped forward, drew an embroidered handkerchief, and personally wiped the sweat from my husband's brow. Yanjung rose slowly, eyes blazing with hatred as they fixed upon me, as though he wished to snap my arm in two. I met his gaze, tone cool. Big brother, you still cannot compare to my husband. Out of respect for you as eldest brother, I will not hold this against you. But do not speak nonsense again. Everyone present can testify. My husband is the true second Master Yan. There is nothing more to debate. Hand in hand, my husband and I departed without a backward glance. Behind us, Yanjung and Chunshi watched, their eyes filled with 3 parts terror, 3 parts panic, and boundless suspicion. Dusk settled over the main courtyard of the eldest branch, shrouding it in deathly silence. Yanjung sat bare-chested while Chunshi applied salve to his wounds. For 2 years these two had been the picture of marital bliss, zither and flute in perfect harmony, passionate nights without end, endless, sweet words exchanged. Yet now they sat in strange, oppressive quiet. Chunshi's hand trembled, pressing too hard on a wound. Yanjung hissed, "Fool, why so rough?" Chunshi had never been spoken to thus. She swallowed her grievances, yet fear flooded her heart even more. "Yilang, what exactly is happening? The man Chu Qingtang brought back not only defeated you but also knows the Yan family's martial arts. Could it be he has returned?" "That's right, the real name of this man is Yan Ye." Yanjung's brows knitted so tightly the crease between them nearly merged. "Impossible. Big brother has never been my match. Yet he truly knows our family's techniques." The image of Chu Qingtang and that man entangled flashed through his mind. Rage and irritation surged. He longed only to vent his fury. He was certain he himself had personally pushed Yan Ye into the enemy camp, had watched his head be severed. How could the dead return? There had to be trickery. The man Little Tang brought back was definitely problematic. Chenshi's tone turned sour. "Yilang, what did you just call her? Don't forget you are my husband now." Yanjung reined in his expression. Recalling their 2 years of affection, his voice softened. He was cornered. He could not afford Chensha causing more chaos. He coaxed her gently. "I did all of this for you. I abandoned my own identity, changed my name and face. What more do you doubt? The priority now is exposing that imposter. The general's manor, regardless of everything, can only belong to you and me." Chunshi embraced him from behind, soft as water. "I only worry too much about you. I am jealous that Chu Qingtang married you. She is merely your wife in name. From now on, stay away from her. No matter what, she has already lain with that imposter. She is no longer pure. Once everything is revealed, we can drown her in the lake." Yanjung shuddered violently, feeling as though horns sprouted upon his head. A sudden thought struck him. He lowered his gaze to the scar on his own chest, boldly pushed Chenshi's hands away, threw on an outer robe and strode out. He would personally verify the imposter. When Yanjung arrived in haste, my husband had just carried me from the bath. His powerful frame was covered in countless scars, large and small. Perhaps today's encounter with Yanjung had stirred his jealousy, fueling his possessive desire to new heights. He laid me upon the bed, knelt on one knee, took my ankle, and began massaging the aches from our long journey. "We're finally home," Little Tang has suffered. Our eyes met, brimming with lingering affection. At that moment, commotion erupted outside the door. "Eldest master, you cannot enter. The second master and second madam have retired. Out of my way. Let's see who dares stop me." A maid's pained scream followed as she was kicked aside. Yanjung had clearly planned this. He kicked the door open and charged inside. The scene before him froze the blood in his veins. His eyes turned ice cold. "What are you doing? Release her." Like a rabid dog, he lunged forward. My husband reacted instantly, yanking the bed curtains shut to shield me. Through the thin fabric, Yanjung shouted desperately, Chu Qingtang, open your eyes and look carefully. This man is not your husband, you have been deceived. My husband seized Yanzheng by the collar, halting his advance. Big brother, what do you mean? The entire household recognizes me. Why do you alone insist I am an imposter? Others might err, but little Tang and I are husband and wife. We have seen each other openly countless times. How could she be mistaken? Even the most intimate parts of my body, she knows them as well as her own palm. I straightened my collar, lifted the curtain, and stepped down from the bed, hiding behind my husband while revealing only my beautiful face. Big brother, it is late at night. Instead of resting, you come to disturb your younger brother and his wife. Is this not lacking in propriety? My husband laughed roguishly. Indeed, big brother, second brother and little Tang are about to retire. Our marital harmony is excellent, and we are still young. Please show some understanding. Yanzheng roared. I forbid it. Imposter, get out at once. I will expose you right now. With a furious shove, he sent my husband stumbling back. In the next instant, he tore open my husband's undergarment. Fabric ripped, my husband's chest lay bare. The light in Yanzheng's eyes died. He stared, transfixed, at the crescent-shaped scar upon my husband's chest. How can this be? This cannot be real. He reached out, fingertips brushing the scar, then dug in viciously. The scar did not yield. My husband raised an eyebrow, chuckling softly. Big brother, what are you doing now? Little Tang said this scar came from when I fell off a cliff in my youth and was scratched by a tree branch. At that moment, Yanzheng's last hope shattered, leaving only impotent rage. Everyone in the capital knew of that incident back then. You deliberately recreated the exact same wound. I poked my head out. Big brother, you are truly peculiar. On what basis do you insist my husband is fake? My husband added calmly. That's right, big brother. You are so certain I am an imposter. Could it be you know where the real second master of the Yan family is? Yanzheng was struck speechless. He dared not answer. At least for now, guilt gnawed at him. He did not even dare open his own collar to reveal the identical scar on his chest. Once more he fled in denial. But my husband's hearing was terrifyingly acute. He deliberately blew warm breath against my ear. He is right outside the courtyard. Little Tang, would you like to play a more thrilling game? One glance from him was all I needed. The bed curtains fell, and the room filled with the warm, lingering scent of spring. My husband teased me mercilessly until my voice grew hoarse from screaming. The next morning, when I awoke, sunlight already streamed through the windows. A trusted maid reported, Second madam, last night the eldest master kept vigil outside the courtyard. In his frustration, he even uprooted several potted plants. I smiled. The wonderful performance has only just begun. My husband had gone to the palace to meet the emperor. In the battle 3 years prior, he had rendered great service. At the time, believed dead, the court could only bestow rewards that had all fallen into the eldest branch's hands. Now that my husband had returned, the question of actual power was another matter entirely. I wondered what Yanzheng would feel when he realized the merits he thought were his were about to be claimed by another Sumyun, wearing his face and living under his identity. I led the servants of the second branch in grand procession straight to the eldest branch's courtyard. Chenxi looked as though she had not slept a wink. Her face was haggard. She always favored pure white attire, cultivating the image of a delicate, fragile flower, the type men adored. I was the complete opposite, dressed in luxurious silks, golden hairpins and swaying buyao gleaming, radiating confidence and nobility. Sister-in-law, you look unwell. Did you sleep poorly? Chenxi clutched her handkerchief tightly. She had likely waited for Yanzheng all night, only for him to spend it eavesdropping in a corner. Her eyes burned with hostility. Understandable, the man she had stolen from me originally belonged to no one but me. The slightest disturbance sent her into paranoid spirals, for deep in her heart guilt already festered. Chenxi asked, Little sister, why have you brought so many people to my courtyard? What is this about? I nodded, dropping all pretense. Sister-in-law, I searched for my husband for 3 years. Previously, the imperial rewards and the monthly stipends accumulated by the second branch over those 3 years all fell into your hands. I produced the account books. These were retrieved from the accounting office. Now that my husband and I have returned, I hope sister-in-law will return everything to the second branch. Chenxi's already poor complexion turned ashen. Overnight she seemed to have aged years. I suddenly recalled the second day after my marriage. Chenxi had supported my drunken husband home. Even then I should have realized they already shared an illicit affair. That day she had arrogantly mocked me. Little sister, I brought second brother back for you. But though the man is yours, his heart may not belong to you. Second brother has always preferred elegant, otherworldly women. Now, facing her pale face, I smiled. Sister-in-law, if you took what belongs to others, you should return it. Don't you agree? Chen-shi forced a smile. Little sister, the second branch still has no heir, yet I have a pair of dragon and phoenix twins. Every expense requires silver. We are one family. There is no need to be so petty. My face darkened. Sister-in-law, those words are incorrect. If the eldest branch has heirs, the second branch will soon have them as well. Raising children costs money. Sister-in-law comes from a scholarly, upright family. Surely you do not enjoy seizing others' possessions? Chen-shi gritted her teeth. Even if I return everything, part has already been spent. No matter how you pressure me, I cannot produce it. You are deliberately making things difficult. I fear no one. According to the ledgers, take everything that can be taken. My people began carrying items out. Chen-shi watched, eyes wide, as her courtyard's wealth vanished. Suddenly the twins ran out and hurled mud at me. Evil woman. Beat the evil woman to death. Chen-shi shielded them quickly. Children don't understand. Little sister, pay them no mind. She spoke sweetly while allowing the children to continue kicking me. I looked down at the pair and smiled without anger. These two children resemble my husband so closely. I've heard children take after mother, father, or uncle, but I've never seen any resemble their second uncle so perfectly. Strangers might think they are my husband's own flesh and blood. Chen-shi paled. She immediately hid the children behind her and ordered the wet nurse, take the young master and young lady away at once. I covered my mouth, laughing inwardly. Sister-in-law, children grow up eventually. Some truths will surface sooner or later. Adults can cover for them, but can two little ones do the same? In the end, the second madam of the eldest branch had returned less than half the property. The eldest madam still dares seize the second madam's dowry? The maid seethed with indignation. I remained perfectly composed. That afternoon my husband, freshly promoted to deputy commander of the military command, accompanied me back to my natal home. My father was the current censor-in-chief. My elder brother served as junior tutor to the crown prince. I shed only a few tears, and both father and brother immediately understood. This is utterly unreasonable. The Yan family's eldest branch bullies my daughter simply because she has no one to rely upon? Fortunately, my daughter found her husband. Otherwise, they would have swallowed everything long ago. My husband performed a deep salute. This son-in-law was incompetent and failed to protect little Tang. But father-in-law and elder brother-in-law, rest assured, from this day forward I will never allow such matters to occur again. That very day, a memorial from my father impeaching the Chen family was delivered to the emperor. The next morning, after morning court, my father wept bitterly once more. Your Majesty, you must uphold justice for this old minister. Lord Chen failed to teach his daughter properly. Chen-shi, relying on her position as sister-in-law, bullied my helpless daughter, seized stipends, and even attempted to take her dowry. My daughter is honest and simple. Can she contend with them? The emperor, already vexed by ministerial family squabbles, merely scolded Lord Chen. The Chen family prided themselves on scholarly purity. Lord Chen, who lived for reputation, stormed home after court and slapped his own daughter across the face. Chen-shi's head snapped sideways. Father, would you truly strike your own daughter for an outsider? Lord Chen delivered a second slap. Unfilial wretch, this afternoon our Chen family's face has been utterly lost because of you. Within 3 days, by whatever means, you return every last item to the second branch. Chen-shi wanted to run to Yanzheng and weep out her grievances. Yanzheng, contemplating how some unknown wild man now enjoyed the merits that should have been his, had taken his wife, worn his face, lived under his identity, felt his future stretch before him, gray and hopeless. He could not comprehend why the face-changing scheme he had once devised now filled him only with regret. In just 3 short years, the mere sight of Chen-shi in another's arms had once filled him with joy. He had wanted only to spend his life with her, even to the point of killing his own elder brother. Now his heart held nothing but disgust. Chen-shi had gone mad. Why did you let that cheap woman Chu Qingtang take everything? The merits and rewards were clearly earned by you. Before she finished, Yanzheng's heart bled anew at the mention. Chen-shi's face darkened as she seized his hand. Or should we simply eliminate them completely so the second branch vanishes forever? Yanzheng hesitated. Chen-shi's fury exploded. What? Are you reluctant to part with that cheap woman Chu Qingtang? You were the one who said you hated flirtatious women like her most. You brought her into the family. You arranged for a secret guard to accompany her. Now the man lying beside her is some unknown wild man. You and she can never return to how things were. Yanzheng stood frozen. For a long while he said nothing. Staring at the ferocious face before him, he suddenly saw in his mind Chu Qingtang's charming hibiscus-like beauty. He began to wonder if he had been bewitched all along. Shut your mouth. He flung Chen-shi away. Stunned for a moment, she then revealed a vicious expression. The two children look more and more like your old face. As days pass, someone will eventually notice. Our time grows short. Don't forget you and I are grasshoppers tied to the same rope. While Chunshi plotted my death with all her heart, I was forcing her to return the property. She had no choice but to sell her belongings cheaply, scurrying about to gather funds. It was said she even sold the jewelry hidden at the bottom of her chests to hire assassins. I gave her the perfect opportunity. I deliberately chose the day the Dowager Imperial Concubine left the palace to worship Buddha. When the assassins struck, everyone assumed the target was the Imperial Concubine. I threw myself into protecting her with everything I had. My husband's hidden men emerged from the shadows and captured every last assassin. Not only was I unharmed, I became the Imperial Concubine's life-saving benefactor. Rewards flowed into the manor like a river. Chunshi was utterly stunned. I smiled radiantly and whispered into her ear, "Thank you, sister-in-law, for creating such a splendid opportunity. Now I am the Imperial Concubine's benefactor, and I have gained another powerful ally." Chunshi was so aggrieved she collapsed into illness that very night. The more she resented Yanzheng, the more troubled he became. In the sweltering summer heat, my husband carried me to the lotus pond in the rear courtyard one night. When Yanzheng arrived, the two of us were bathing together in Mandarin duck style, passionately entwined, while he hid among the bushes, serving as mosquito fodder. Since he enjoyed peeping so much, my husband and I obliged him, creating quite a spectacle. Heaven knows with what state of mind Yanzheng faced it all. He scrambled up from the dirt and fled as if his life depended on it. That day my husband had gone to the military camp. Yanzheng finally descended into complete madness. He cast off his disguise and appeared before me to confess. "That wild man is fake. I am your real husband." I feigned horror. "Big brother, have you lost your mind?" Yanzheng smiled bitterly. "Yes, I have gone mad. But little Tang, I never intended to abandon you completely. I planned to coax Chunshi first, then support both branches. But 3 years ago you deliberately traveled far away. I wanted to dote on you, yet had no chance. I know you loved me deeply, but I am the true second Master Yan. The one you love is me. Little Tang, open your eyes wide and see clearly. I am your husband. Listen to me, expose that impostor, and from now on I will stay by your side." I could not help laughing loudly until I bent double. "Yanzheng, why are you laughing? On what basis do you think I would need a man who can only hide beneath another's skin? My current husband surpasses you in every way. Every night he remains by my side. Why would I need your pitiful company? Besides, you are filthy now. Especially Froze. You, what do you mean? You already knew?" I stepped closer and whispered into his ear like a demon. "You could fake your death and change your face just to secretly consort with your own sister-in-law. So why shouldn't I find someone to change his face into your likeness?" Yanzheng staggered as though struck by lightning. You? You always knew that Wild Man was also brought back by you?" He finally understood. "No wonder you suddenly went traveling. You specifically brought him to replace me. Face changing is not accomplished in a single day or night. Making one person identical to another is no simple matter. You needed sufficient time. I delivered the final, fatal blow. On the day I married into this family, you arranged for a secret guard to accompany me. Then you killed him to silence him and even destroyed his face. But what you never expected was that I secretly saved him." Yanzheng finally grasped everything. "So that's how it is. No wonder he knows the Yan family's martial arts. He also knows every detail about me as intimately as the palm of his hand. I must report you all. This is a crime of deceiving the emperor. You also failed in your duties as a wife. Chunshi spoke truly. A woman like you deserves to be drowned in a pig cage." He threatened me. I shrugged indifferently. "Oh? Then do you believe anyone will listen? Even if you scream until your throat tears, outsiders will only think you have gone mad. If we speak of deceiving the emperor, you are the primary culprit." Looking at Yanzheng's miserable state, desperate to kill me yet unable to strike, he could only accept defeat in bitter frustration. I smiled in satisfaction. His face twisted with rage and panic as he turned and fled. At that moment my husband stepped from the shadows. He embraced me from behind, chin resting on my shoulder. "Little Tang, is it time to close the net? I no longer wish him to hover before you." I stroked my husband's face, thoroughly pleased with his obedient demeanor. Soon, when a person is driven to desperation yet glimpses a sliver of hope, they are most easily ensnared. I knew Yanzheng would risk everything to advance. Therefore I had you, together with my father and elder brother, secretly obstruct him repeatedly. Then when he was on the verge of collapse, I secretly reported him and guided him to the crown prince. The emperor, robust at 56, had sired the crown prince yet never formally established him. The crown prince, already 30, had watched dozens of younger brothers born one after another. Naturally, he could no longer remain idle. When the crown prince plotted rebellion during a hunt, Yanzheng, unable to wait, sought to earn merit by supporting the new ruler. But it was the classic case of the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Just as Yanzheng believed he was about to grasp high office and great power, my husband led troops to suppress the rebels and, in the name of righteousness, personally destroyed his own kin. One sword stroke completely ruined Yanzheng's left face and pierced through his shoulder blade. Your Majesty, this subject arrived late to rescue you. Although my elder brother was incited by villains, the death penalty cannot be pardoned. This subject begs your Majesty to punish him severely. Yanzheng realized the tide had turned completely. He grew even more frenzied and screamed, I am not Yanzheng, I am Yan Ye. I am the true second master of the Yan family. The one your Majesty should execute is him. My husband moved with lightning speed and severed Yanzheng's tongue. Your Majesty, forgive me. My elder brother has completely lost his mind. Ever since the day he swapped faces, he has no longer been Yanzheng. The eldest branch was implicated. Chen Shi and the two children were exiled to the frontier. The second branch, credited with rescuing the emperor, not only survived unscathed but received 2 consecutive promotions. Even stripped to her undergarments, Chen Shi still cursed me loudly. Ah, Chu Qingtang! You are nothing but a titled woman without substance. On what basis did you defeat me? Both Yan brothers loved me from beginning to end. You are nothing. I stepped forward, smiling disdainfully. Oh? You caused the 2 Yan brothers to turn against each other because of you. Do you still find that glorious? Chen Shi opened her mouth to continue, but I glanced at the empty space beside her and said, let me tell you a secret. My eyes can see ghosts. Big Brother's soul has been watching you all along. It was he who taught me, step by step, how to defend myself. Even the method for changing Yanya's face was instructed by him. He told me where to find the skilled physician. He died a miserable death. He hated you 2 despicable creatures to the bone. He is standing right here now. Can't you see him? Chen Shi's pupils dilated. The once elegant beauty had long become a resentful woman. She stood frozen, not daring to turn her head. A foul liquid trickled from beneath her skirt. Her lips moved ceaselessly. It's not me, don't come for me. If you hadn't suspected me and Yi Lang, we would never have thought of killing. Don't come here. Mother and children of 3 had barely left the capital when they perished suddenly outside the city. Before the night of Yanzheng's beheading, I visited the prison. His eyes stared fixedly at me. He could only emit choked whimpers. I looked down upon him as one looks upon a dead dog. You thought you understood Big Brother best and could imitate him without flaw. But don't forget you and I were once husband and wife. I too can find someone to imitate you perfectly. Moreover, the secret guards who followed you for years know every detail of your life and habits as intimately as the palm of their hand. Yanzheng no, it should be Yan Ye now. Everything in this world is cause and effect, karma and reincarnation. You changed faces to harm others and died because of face changing. It is all retribution. After the eldest branch's affairs concluded, I invited a high monk to perform rites for Big Brother. The ghostly aura surrounding him dissipated. The murderous energy throughout his body vanished. He revealed an honest, simple smile, waved at me, then turned and walked into a beam of light. From that day forward, he no longer existed in this world. The affection between my husband and me remained as strong as ever. After giving birth to twins, my husband could not bear for me to endure another pregnancy. He personally drank a sterilization potion to prevent it. With my assistance, my husband rose rapidly through the ranks. A few years later, he became a high official before the throne. In the year the new emperor ascended, my husband was 40, already a powerful minister who had served 2 dynasties. His position was exalted, his authority reaching the heavens. Tall, strong, and handsome, his appearance remained as dashing as ever. Overnight he became one of the most sought-after husbands in the capital. Every day after court he personally purchased for me a freshly baked pastry. Every year he personally selected the most fashionable jewelry and clothing for me. Yet that very year, my husband secretly kept a little songbird outside, only 16 years old, even younger than our daughter-in-law. He believed he had hidden it perfectly, but the matter of my eyes seeing ghosts, I had never told a soul. People do not reveal secrets, yet ghosts can. That year, my husband and I welcomed a grandchild. To the outside world, for 25 years my husband continued to love me as deeply as in the beginning. I maintained perfect calm, pretending ignorance. He believed everything remained under his control. The maid combing my hair sincerely praised, "Madam looks barely over 30. At your age, to still be so favored." I merely smiled without speaking. Both sons had entered officialdom. But how could 3 generations of Yan men occupy high positions simultaneously? As a father, he had reached the time for sacrifice, and I, having stood by his side for 25 years, had grown weary. His keeping a little songbird outside, I understood completely. Half a year later, war erupted in the north. I heaped praise upon my husband. Husband, you are only 40, the perfect age to establish great merit and reputation. You must seize this opportunity to become a renowned general. My husband, having savored the sweetness of power these years, greatly enjoyed my flattery. Indeed, he volunteered to lead the campaign. Not only did I encourage him toward the northern frontier, I secretly arranged for my own people to lie in ambush beside him. After our army's great victory, I would ensure the general remained on the frontier forever. Simply bring back his head. Only by losing the head can one die completely. When I first married into the Yan family, I had carried a young girl's heart. But once bitten by a snake, one fears ropes for 10 years. How could my husband believe I was truly moved by him? Another year passed. Our army triumphed, yet my husband did not return alive. News from the front reported that after the great victory he had accidentally fallen into a trap and been beheaded. The entire court mourned. The new emperor heavily rewarded the Yan family. All military merits were heaped upon me. I was conferred the title of first-rank imperial mandate madam, enjoying a fief of 1,000 souls. That little songbird raised in the back alley came crying and screaming to our door. I am the one in General Yan's heart. He promised to arrange everything properly for me. Yan family, you cannot abandon me. I disliked public scenes, so I met her privately. She was indeed a beauty. When weeping, she appeared even more pitiable. She even attempted to negotiate using her belly. I smiled. You claim to carry my husband's flesh and blood, yet he took medicine to end his lineage many years ago. Where did this child come from? The beauty was horrified. Exposed, she flew into a rage. Poisonous woman. General Yan was still sending letters days ago claiming great victory. Was it you playing tricks? I remained silent, offering no denial. The beauty cursed. No wonder the general said you were deep and unfathomable. I suddenly grew interested. Oh? What else did he say? In her fury, spoiled rotten by Yan Zhengshe blurted everything without restraint. The general said you had grown old and he had lost all interest. He also said that as long as you live one more day, he cannot live openly and honestly as himself. I am the one he loves most. I deserve a share of the general's merits. Perhaps because of my age, or because I had already obtained so much, the beauty's curses elicited no reaction from me. Of course, my husband could never live openly and honestly as himself, because he was originally nothing more than an impostor. He was merely a tool I had used for revenge, to secure my position, to bear children, and to enjoy pleasure. I smiled and pointed to the stack of silver notes on the table. I originally intended to give you enough silver to live comfortably in old age. But seeing your genuine devotion to the general, if it is true love, then commit suicide to accompany him, lest he feel lonely and cold in the underworld. The beauty was terrified, but I have always been decisive. Once decided, I act immediately. From the moment she stepped through the door until she closed her eyes forever, only the time of one incense stick passed. I said to my trusted aides, see, people should not be too greedy. Those who seek to seize what belongs to others will surely suffer heaven's punishment. My 2 children were extremely filial. Thanks to their father's reputation, both were highly valued by the new emperor. I began attending operas and plays, selecting quite a few handsome young actors. I also spread rumors that the performers I brought back mostly bore some resemblance to my late husband. Everyone said I harbored deep affection and righteousness for my deceased spouse. The male servants I kept by my side, each new one resembled the young General Yan Ye even more closely than the last. No one knew that since the day I married into this family at barely more than 10 years of age, in my heart the nominal husband Yan Ye had already been a dead man. This lifetime's performance, I have enacted it to my complete satisfaction. Now, let me tell you the second story. I was the legitimate daughter of a prestigious, aristocratic family, meticulously raised by my clan with every resource at their disposal. I was originally destined to marry the crown prince as his principal consort. Who could have imagined that a woman from another world would appear out of nowhere and cause the crown prince to break off his engagement with me? Everyone assumed I would fight desperately to keep my place. Little did they expect that I would simply remove my hairpins, barefaced, and walk calmly into the Taiji Hall to petition His Majesty to grant the marriage to the 2 of them instead. That very night, I boarded my carriage and left the capital, not returning once in 3 long years. During those 3 years, the crown prince and that woman went from being passionately inseparable to gradually developing resentment. When he took in 2 more low-ranking concubines, That woman completely collapsed. She wailed in front of a crowd, demanding the system send her back. Unable to endure her constant harassment, the crown prince went out one day to clear his mind, only to coincidentally encounter me, just as I returned to the capital. We stood far apart, one looking weary and worn, the other composed and serene. He gazed at me, emotions surging in his eyes, and softly called, "Little Zhang." In that instant I knew my opportunity had arrived. The day I returned to the capital, a bitter chill had settled deep into the bones, and heavy snow blanketed the sky. The carriage wheels crunched through thick drifts, the axles creaking with every jolt. Sensing we were nearly at the residence, I alighted, opened my oil paper umbrella, and walked alone through the snow. As I passed Yanjilu, I instinctively looked up, and in that brief glance I saw the crown prince standing alone on the high balcony. I paused for a moment, then smiled faintly and nodded at him. That smile was like old acquaintances reuniting after many years, joy tinged with lingering attachment. In the blink of an eye I saw his lips move. He called me Little Zhang. I was about to leave first, but he raised his hand and beckoned me up. Standing high and gazing into the distance, the entire capital was a vast expanse of wind and snow. The only color in sight was cold white. Lu Fei asked me, "Do you still remember this place?" I nodded. How could I forget? The year he led his troops to war, I had stood right here to see him off. Yanjilu locks away the sorrow of parting. The heart, like a lone wild goose at the edge of the sky, follows the army to distant lands. I had embroidered every stitch of that poem onto a handkerchief with my own hands. When I gave it to him, he said the item was worth 1,000 gold pieces and could never be exchanged. Yet later, to prove his sincerity to Chen Yifu, he personally tore that very handkerchief in two. He even sent someone to relay the message. The token of our affection has been destroyed, and from this day forward, all ties between us are severed. Lu Fei Bai and I stood in silence for a long while, neither speaking. After some time he turned and asked, "How have you been these past few years?" I replied calmly, "I thank your highness for your concern. These past 3 years, this humble one has wandered the 4 corners of the world. I have seen the snowy peaks of Kangshan and the spring scenery of Jiangnan." Lu Fei Bai pondered. "You once said the world is vast, and one day you wished to see the mountains and rivers. Now you have done so. If all women in this world were as understanding as you, being a husband would bring far fewer troubles." I smiled lightly and did not reply. Since birth I have been raised by my father, according to the standards of a future crown princess. Father once said a daughter is born at a disadvantage. She cannot only know how to manage the household, she must also understand the art of managing her husband. One step back, she can uphold the central duties and be a virtuous wife. One step forward, she can assist her husband and serve as the strategist behind the throne. I understood clearly. To become his wife, the first requirement was dignity and composure. Most of the time I had to be like a flower reflected in water, gentle, and still treating the crown prince as my superior, respectful but never overly flattering, occasionally revealing a touch of shyness and admiration. The affection between us was something everyone could see. On the day I came of age, His Majesty, going with the flow, designated me as crown princess, waiting only for Lu Fei Bai's triumphant return before we. Within the residence I personally embroidered the wedding garments, stitch by painstaking stitch. My mind filled every day with anticipation for the moment he would lift my red veil. At that time we would be passionately in love, like jade linked with pearls. I watched the stars and the moon until finally I waited for him to return victorious on horseback. But the very first thing he did upon returning was kneel for a long time in the Taiji Hall, begging to break off our engagement. He said, "Chen Yifu comes from another world. If she is not by my side, it would be as if my cultivation has failed, and the punishment for failure is to be reduced to dust." I was stunned for an entire watch, letting my tears fall like a storm. Then I immediately went to the study to discuss matters with my father. Father has always doted on me and comforted me that if I insisted, the position of crown princess could only be mine. I shook my head. "No, father, I want to break off the engagement." In that moment I saw disappointment in his eyes. Not fighting back might preserve dignity, but it would also invite the world's contempt. Yet my next words shocked him. Not only did I want to break off the engagement, I also wanted to leave the capital immediately. The crown prince and I had been together day and night. I understood his temperament and taboos all too well. It was said this woman was different. She constantly parroted phrases like "one lifetime, one heart," and threatened that if he did not comply, the system would send her back to the modern era. Right now the crown prince was so infatuated, he naturally kept his word generously. But he was the future ruler with 3 palaces, 6 courtyards and 72 concubines. How could she still bind him with vows then? I would retreat in order to fulfill their wishes while making the crown prince feel guilty toward me. When resentment finally grew between them, that would be my moment to return. Just think when he was mentally and physically exhausted, and once again encountered this childhood sweetheart with a face as fair as snow and radiant as spring flowers at that time, who would be a mere insignificant mosquito bite, and who would be the brilliant moonlight? My father looked at me, his gaze briefly unfamiliar, then quickly turned to pride. As expected of my daughter possessing both bearing and strategy, do as you say. This is a grand game and the stake is your entire life. But if one wishes to reach the pinnacle, there must come a time to bow one's head. That day, barefaced and hairpin removed, I knelt with him before the Taiji Hall, begging His Majesty to retract the imperial edict. I humbled myself to the extreme while elevating him to the clouds. In the end, His Majesty approved the memorial and cancelled our engagement. The snow gradually lightened, and a faint light appeared on the horizon. I take my leave, Lu Feibai. Just as I turned to leave, he said, I will escort you back, I replied. There is a carriage downstairs, the roads are slippery in the snow. Your Highness should return early. His smile held a hint of helplessness. 3 years apart, and you and I have become this distant? In the past, whenever we toured the capital together, I had always personally escorted her back. My expression froze. I turned my head with a touch of stubbornness. There was once a past between us. If you do this, the crown princess will overthink it as expected. That remark struck a sore spot. The crown princess was domineering. Any woman with even a hint of beauty who approached the crown prince would be dealt with on some pretext. Chen Yifu had not given birth in 3 years, and even His Majesty could no longer tolerate it. A few days earlier he had bestowed 2 concubines upon the Eastern Palace. Chen Yifu had made a huge fuss, refusing to let Lu Fi favor them. The two had argued for many days, neither willing to yield. He was the crown prince above 10,000 below 1. Today he had coincidentally met me and was conveniently visiting his teacher. What did it matter if others gossiped? I put on a troubled expression, but my eyes could not hide a trace of secret joy. He saw it all. We walked side by side on the snow, one in red, one in black. Tomorrow the news of my return and my meeting with the crown prince would spread everywhere. When I left quietly, everyone thought I had lost. Upon returning, there was no need to hide. Someone would maintain my dignity for me. In the days that followed, I used the excuse of poor health and closed my doors to all visitors. Rumors of the crown prince and crown princess quarreling flew throughout the capital. I remained unmoved. At that time, I was at Princess Xianrong's residence, listening to opera on the stage. The singer's eyes were like willow threads, and the angle of her face bore 3 parts resemblance to my elder brother. Princess Xianrong asked, "What do you plan to do next, little sister?" I took a sip of tea, step by step, plan by plan. Princess Xianrong clicked her tongue. "Why are you even guarding me?" "Why indeed? Has all the information I provided you over the years gone to waste?" I knew I had misspoken. My voice softened. "Sister-in-law, it was a slip of the tongue. Please be magnanimous and don't take offense." Hearing me call her sister-in-law, she was delighted and no longer minded. It was a pity those 2 words could only be spoken in secret. Princess Xianrong's mother was Consort Liang. She had followed His Majesty since his days as heir apparent. Though she did not receive much favor, her temperament was gentle and harmonious. She did not compete for attention. His Majesty respected her as well. Because of this, Princess Xianrong was doted upon. Compared to the other princesses, she was more lively and cared nothing for red skirts and makeup. She only loved golden armor and martial arts. Back then, my elder brother was captain of the Imperial Guards, and she often came to our residence to discuss martial arts. Once her intentions were clear, she directly petitioned His Majesty for a marriage decree. My elder brother was taciturn and meticulous, yet he went to great lengths to find the best blacksmith, just to forge a red-tasseled spear that fit perfectly in the hands of the one in his heart. If my elder brother had not died, Princess Xianrong would have been my sister-in-law, but in this world there are few ifs. Reporting to the sovereign on the golden platform, the jade dragon is for the gentleman, all is fate. On the first day of next month is the memorial ceremony for my elder brother. Have the monks for the salvation ritual been invited? They will arrive at the end of the month. Father has already issued the obituary. I asked if my sister-in-law would come that day. "Of course," she said, voice choked. "I will attend as a widow to see him off." At this point, mentioning my elder brother, we said nothing more. On the stage, the opera had just reached the line, "The good night cannot be shared with you." After several verses of heavy resentment passed, I stood up to take my leave. Princess Xianrong looked worried. Little sister, your return to the capital was so high profile. I'm afraid Chen Yifu will come looking for trouble on that day. When soldiers come, we block with generals. When water comes, we dam with earth. She is no demon or monster. She laughed. Little sister is so carefree. It is I who am overthinking. Just don't forget that the death of your elder brother must be avenged by someone. Rest assured, sister-in-law. I know the person you speak of is the crown prince. That is a past I do not wish to recall because every time I think of it, I fear I will be unable to restrain myself and want to kill Lu Feibai. That year he went out in disguise and encountered a woman from the martial world. To someone like him, accustomed to refined and gentle young ladies of great families, a heroic and spirited female warrior naturally held a certain allure. He concealed his identity and often met with her, calling himself Xiaojiao of the martial world. My elder brother, as captain of the Imperial Guards, was responsible for protecting the crown prince. Lu Feibai found him an encumbrance and repeatedly slipped away alone to meet her. In truth, that woman was the holy maiden of the Fulan heretical sect. She approached the crown prince only to capture him and use him as a hostage to negotiate terms with his majesty. Time was pressing. My elder brother discovered it and only had time to order his deputy general to mobilize troops before rushing to rescue the crown prince himself. That woman was about to rendezvous with her accomplices when my elder brother intercepted her. Reinforcements had not yet arrived, and the pursuers were closing in relentlessly. My elder brother had no choice but to exchange clothes with the crown prince and lure the enemy away. In the end, Lu Feibai was rescued by the loyal troops, while my elder brother fell into the hands of the evil cult. He was subjected to all manner of torture, and then drawn and quartered by 5 horses. When his body was found, it was impossible to piece together a complete corpse. My elder brother, the one who had always protected me, had a bright future ahead of him, yet he died in a sordid affair of wind and moon, dying in such a manner that when the news arrived, no one could believe it. A man like him had not died on the battlefield, but because of a reckless romance. That death was a thorn in Princess Senrong's heart, and also a thorn in mine. All these years Princess Senrong hated Lu Feibai. She pinned her hopes on me, waiting for me to marry him, and then avenge my elder brother. I looked at the plaque of Princess Xianrong's residence. The characters flying like dragons and dancing like phoenixes. The days ahead were long. This time, upon my return to the capital, I would become the one who avenges my elder brother, and I would also demand justice. The game had only just begun. Who was the piece and who was the player? It was too early to say. On the day of my elder brother's memorial, nearly all the prominent aristocratic families in the capital sent representatives to pay their respects. My mother and I received the female guests. Those who came were sensible and did not dare cause trouble. Chen Yifu arrived late. Before she was seen, her voice was heard. This palace has arrived late and missed the opportunity to offer incense to the great hero. What a sin indeed! A strong fragrance rushed forward. She was dressed in a gown embroidered with golden threads and floral patterns, walking with graceful ease like a resplendent hen, beautiful, yet foolish. I concealed the hatred in my eyes and respectfully knelt to pay my respects. Chen Yifu deliberately delayed calling me to rise, clearly relishing the feeling of others bowing before her. She walked past me and took the seat of honor, fiddling with her teacup several times before finally speaking. All of you rise. The aristocratic families shared common interests and were tightly bound. They naturally disliked this kind of posturing. The ladies stood up and none stepped forward to engage her. Only my mother forced a smile and made small talk. Madam, please do not grieve too much. Your son may be gone, but do you not still have a daughter? Miss Konglingjiang is exceptionally talented. I fear even your son might not have been able to match her, but one must speak the truth as it is. Miss Konglingjiang is so intelligent. Perhaps she has taken away the lifespan of Kong Tongyi. Aristocratic families place great importance on fate and physiognomy. Her words implied I had stolen my brother's life. My brother had died because of the crown prince's romantic entanglement. His Majesty had publicly announced that my brother had unfortunately sacrificed himself while suppressing bandits. My mother looked furious, but with so many people present, she could not explode. After I finished offering incense, I stepped forward and handed it to her. Does the crown princess not wish to offer incense? Then please do so quickly. The dismissal was crystal clear. Chen Yifu's expression changed instantly. Why is this palace offering incense with good intentions, yet you do not welcome it? Has Miss Konglingjiang been away from the capital for so long that she no longer knows her place? I looked up and met her gaze directly. I have heard that when the crown princess first arrived in the capital, she always advocated for equality among all people, calling herself a person of the new era. I shook my head, feigning a sigh. Now she is just an ordinary person after all. Your tongue is truly sharp, Miss Kong. Do you still think you are the crown princess? How dare you raise your voice before me? Who will tell this palace what punishment is due for one who offends their superior? A maid behind her stepped forward. Reporting to the crown princess, you are the ruler, she is the subject. For one who commits verbal offense in public, slap her twice. For a repeat offense, beat her with 20 strokes of the rod. I smiled coldly. In just 3 years, she has become so adept at using power to oppress others. King Ying, slap her twice on behalf of this palace. I would like to see who dares to stop you. Everyone turned. Princess Xianrong approached, dressed in white flowers in her hair, eyes red-rimmed. Chen Yifu, if you want to cause trouble, go back to the Eastern Palace and do it there. Do not go mad here. Princess Xianrong spoke without mercy. Chen Yifu's face turned pale, but she remained stubborn. Third sister has not yet married into the Kong family, yet she is already so eager to wear mourning clothes. You are Ah Bai's sister. Why is your heart always turned outward? Princess Xianrong, with her straightforward temperament, immediately wanted to strike. I quickly held her back. Princess, calm your anger. Today is the day of my elder brother's memorial. I hope everyone will not damage our relationship over trivial matters. Relationship? When has this palace ever had a relationship with you? Do not think I do not know what you are planning. Let me tell you, even if a Bai argues with me 10,000 times, he will never abandon me. Kongling Zhang, put away your thoughts of squeezing in, so many eyes are watching. I nearly fainted. My mother beside me swayed unsteadily. I bit my lip and softened my voice. I know the crown princess has misunderstood me. This time I returned only to pay respects to my elder brother. Your gracious presence today is an honor for the Kong family. Please, come to the main hall for tea. I bowed deliberately, humbling myself to support her. Chen Yifu refused and pushed me back with her hand. I staggered 2 steps. Fortunately, Princess Xianrong supported me from behind. She was about to continue making a scene when a shout came from outside. Chen Yifu, what are you doing? Lu Feibai entered, followed by my father, and several high ministers who had clearly seen everything. I took a deep breath, composed my expression, and forced a smile as I paid my respects. Lu Feibai helped me up in front of everyone, his angry gaze fixed on Chen Yifu. You are the crown princess. Instead of setting an example for the women of the household, you act domineeringly and throw your weight around. You have completely disgraced the royal family's face. Everyone already knew the two were at odds. Now that the crown prince had openly reprimanded her, it was clear he had issued a stern warning. Chen Yifu raised her chin. I did not ask her to support me. Besides, with that green tea appearance of hers, is she not just putting on a show for you to see? Lu Feibai was about to speak, but I gently tugged at his sleeve and shook my head with a bitter smile. The pity in his eyes deepened. Everyone knew I was the model noble daughter of the capital, dignified, virtuous, and gentle. The more I retreated, the more guilty he felt. The crown prince is truly majestic. A single visit for condolences has been turned into chaos by your crown princess. I fear even the departed under the Yellow Springs will find no peace. Mentioning Kongtong made Lu Feibai even more ashamed. Others might not know how my brother died, but he knew clearly. It was his sworn brother in all but name, closer than blood brothers, who had died for him. Third sister is right, this prince apologizes to the teacher here. My father quickly stopped him. Your Highness, there is no root for this. Your presence is already an honor for this humble official. I have heard that the Taoist priests for the salvation ritual are all eminent monks from Tianfo Temple. In 2 days, allow this prince to accompany you to see them. You and the crown princess will personally recite sutras for General Kong. After speaking, he glanced at Chen Yifu, his cold gaze full of threat. Chen Yifu pouted and reluctantly said, Miss Kongling Zhang, today this palace is not feeling well and acted foolishly for a moment. Please forgive me. Of course I did not pursue it. How weak I was, how aggrieved. I let Lu Feibai see it all. That was enough. Time accumulated bit by bit, and the scales in his heart would gradually tip toward me. He might not truly love me, but in this world, who would refuse a woman of beautiful appearance, noble birth, who devoted herself entirely to him? All men were like this. The wife at home is never as good as the fresh concubine outside, and the concubine is never as good as the stolen one. They are all despicable in the same way. Since my return to the capital 2 months ago, Lu Feibai had secretly sought me out many times, but I had avoided him each time. After the day of my elder brother's memorial, I had accepted his kindness and could no longer continue avoiding him. At first I maintained a polite distance, but he deliberately brought up old matters, and I gradually spoke more. Realizing I had gone too far, I caught myself and returned to a cold and indifferent demeanor. But there were words I wanted to say, words that choked me until my face turned red, words I could not finish. And yet not saying them was also impossible. He took it all in, his gaze gentle, not at all feigned. Outsiders only saw me as dignified and proper, but I knew little Zhang was still just a young girl at heart. Beyond the misty boat and water, the green mountains loomed faintly. Inside the boat, with warm wine and light fragrance, we gathered around the stove to discuss ancient matters over 3 cups and 2 glasses. Fei Bai suddenly sighed. Little Zhang, if I said I regretted it, would you believe me? His words were ambiguous, the meaning beyond the words. I did not respond, only lifting my cup and gazing outside. Things too easily obtained are never cherished by people. I had to let him know that Kongling Zhang possessed her own proud backbone. His gaze gradually darkened and he smiled bitterly. The affairs of the world are like a chessboard. One wrong move, and the entire game is lost. After that, we drank together and watched the rain, neither of us mentioning the romantic entanglement again. That was exactly what I wanted. Neither taking the initiative nor refusing, leaving him itchy with unease, unable to leave me. Lu Feibai felt guilty toward my elder brother and also intended to win me over to show his sincerity. On the trip to Tianfo Temple, he did not ride in a sedan chair, but climbed the mountain steps one by one on foot. Little Zhang, the mountain path is slippery, walk behind me. I glanced at Chen Yifu, who looked somewhat hesitant. These past few days she had already been suppressed and was biting her lip in silence. Lu Feibai acted as if he did not see her and said gently, "Hold on to my robe, I will lead you up." Tianfo Temple had long since arranged resting quarters. Everyone rested for the night, and the sutra recitation began the next day. On the women's side, my room was adjacent to Chen Yifu's. My mother's health was poor and she was a bit worried, fearing that woman would cause trouble again. Princess Shanrong took the initiative to switch rooms, separating us. After a full day of travel, everyone was exhausted and went to bed early after the evening meal. In the room, the incense from the altar was faint. I slept very deeply. The window creaked softly, and in the quiet of the night I only heard a slight sound from the bed. Suddenly there was a commotion outside among the branches. Someone shouted loudly, "Fire! Fire!" Everyone woke up in panic and hurriedly dressed and ran out, choking on the smoke. Fortunately, it was the row of meditation rooms in front that had caught fire and had not spread to the living quarters. Everyone gathered in the main hall, each looking somewhat flustered. A young maidservant ran over. "It's terrible, the young lady is still inside." Princess Yanrong recognized her as my maid. She panted, "All of you masters, the young lady's room cannot be opened. If something happens to the young lady, this servant will not be able to live either." Upon hearing this, my mother nearly fainted. Princess Xianrong comforted her while leading people to my room. The window was locked tightly. Princess Xianrong ordered the maid to fetch the key. "It is only a noble lady without rank. Is she worth making everyone wait? She dares not open the door. Could she be doing something shady inside?" Chen Yifu spoke sarcastically, and everyone began to lose patience. Princess Xianrong had no other choice. The situation was urgent. "Break down the door." The guards immediately complied. The door was broken open, and the crowd rushed in. The small room was simple, containing only an altar and a bed. On the bed lay a person covered by a blanket, motionless. Princess Xianrong hurried over. "Little Zhang, what is wrong with you?" "Ah!" She gasped in shock and stepped back 2 paces. As if remembering something, she immediately blocked the front of the bed, her voice trembling. "Everyone, step outside." But the room was so small that someone had already seen clearly that the person on the bed was a man. Everyone immediately erupted in commotion. My mother could not bear it and fainted. Princess Xianrong nearly screamed, "Everyone, get out!" Chen Yifu seized the opportunity. "How could she? The model of a noble daughter," I said it. "Long ago Kongling is the type who cannot move when she sees a man." Everyone saw it. In the temple, committing adultery, the crime deserves to be drowned in a pig cage. No, little Zhang is not that kind of person. The family traditions of the Kong family are known to all. They would never do anything filthy. Those present were all close to the Kong family and should have spoken up, but faced with the facts, no one dared to open their mouths. After all, they were all women. A single wrong word could offend others and implicate their own families. This matter was too serious. "Someone go invite the crown prince here." When Lu Feibai arrived, the man on the bed had already woken up. Upon seeing his appearance, which bore some resemblance to himself, Lu Feibai's gaze turned cold. Chen Yifu spoke first, recounting the whole story from beginning to end, directly accusing me of adultery. A woman's chastity is of utmost importance. The matter is not yet clear. The crown princess had best not speak nonsense. Chen Yifu smiled coldly. Third sister, I heard that tonight you were the one who took the initiative to switch rooms with Konglingzhang. You already had suspicions, yet you still defend her like this. Could it be that this man is the lover of both of you? Princess Xianrong was furious, but the fact that she had switched rooms could not be denied. Lu Feibai paid no attention to the women's quarrel, and only asked the person kneeling on the ground, "This is the women's quarters. Why did you appear here?" The man was somewhat stubborn and snorted, refusing to answer. A guard beside him drew his blade and stabbed straight into the man's arm. The man cried out in pain but remained tight-lipped. "Even if you beat me to death, I will not speak." Chen Yifu sneered. It seems he is still a devoted lover. Seeing that nothing could be learned, Lu Feibai rubbed his forehead and ordered him sent to the Dali temple for thorough interrogation. 2 guards accepted the order and prepared to escort the man away. "Oh, why is everyone here?" Everyone turned around. "I am standing at the door." The man immediately looked delighted. "Little Zhang." Chen Yifu spoke first. "Konglingzhang, you are truly bold. The Buddhist monastery is a place of purity, yet you commit filthy deeds here. You have completely disgraced the face of the aristocratic families." I frowned. "What are you all talking about, Crown Prince? Father? What exactly has happened?" Everyone fell silent, and I grew even more confused. I could not sleep in my usual place, so tonight I went to the small Buddhist hall to recite sutras for my elder brother. Just now during the fire I was overcome by the smoke and fainted. If not for the little novice monk saving me, I might have lost my life. The little novice monk behind me chanted Amitabha Buddha, confirming my words. "If it is as you say, then why was this man in your room?" I looked closely at him and confirmed I did not recognize him. I do not know him. When I went to the small Buddhist hall, my maid Huanbi can testify. After I fainted, I even heard her go to call for help. As soon as I finished speaking, a guard came to report that my maid Huanbi had died from smoke inhalation. Upon hearing this, the man suddenly shouted, "Everything was done by me. It has nothing to do with little Zhang. She and I are innocent." I flew into a rage. "Who sent you to slander me? Slandering a woman's chastity deserves to be stripped and beheaded. You had better think carefully." He looked pained. "Little Zhang, that year in the pear garden, you once accepted me as exec behind the curtain. Now to protect yourself you several ties. I do not blame you everyone. It is I who am infatuated. It has nothing to do with Miss Kong." His words sounded as if he were defending me, but the more he spoke, the more he blackened my name. A woman's chastity is more important than anything. If she is wrongly accused today, not only will I lose my reputation, but the entire Kong family will be unable to hold its head high. Everyone knows I have been away for many years, and only returned to the capital less than a month ago. How could I possibly commit adultery with someone else? Konglingzhang declares today. I am wholeheartedly devoted to the crown prince and have never changed. I would not stoop to something as trivial as this. I spoke decisively. Some people nodded, secretly defending me. Miss Kong comes from a noble background with a bright future. How could she regard a mere singer as a treasure? I do not believe it. That's right. Huanbi's death is even more suspicious. A flicker of emotion appeared in Lu Feibai's eyes. Little Zhang, the wind has changed direction. The man suddenly changed his tone. Little Zhang, I have taken all the blame. Why do you still belittle me? The more you want to sever ties, the more I will not allow it. He had nothing left to lose and, disregarding the consequences of mutual destruction, shouted loudly. She placed a dolls inscribed with the crown prince's birth date and 8 characters under the Buddhist hall. While reciting sutras for her elder brother's salvation, she put it into the merit box. In 7 days the crown prince will be cursed. At that time, she will become the crown princess. As soon as these words were spoken, combined with what I had just said, I was immediately pushed to the brink of death. The guards rushed to open the merit box. When they pried it open, an exquisitely crafted doll rolled out along with a pile of copper coins. The man laughed maniacally. Little Zhang, if I cannot have you, then no one else will either. We will die together. In the underworld we will be a pair of mandarin ducks. Konglingzhang, what else do you have to say? I stepped back 2 paces, my ears filled with piercing noise. My mother fainted. My father was enraged. Lu Feibai was disappointed. Chen Yifu was smug. Princess Xianrong was worried. This was a trap. I could not defend myself. Someone lock up this adulterous pair in the Dali temple. I lowered my head and allowed the guards to escort me away. This round I had lost the advantage, and it was exposed the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. But the final moment had not yet arrived. Who was the mantis and who was the oriole? It was still unknown. I was imprisoned in the jail for 7 days without a single person coming to interrogate me. As if I had been forgotten on the 10th day, Princess Xianrong hurried to see me. Only then did I learn that His Majesty was gravely ill. Right now, everyone in the capital was looking out for themselves, so naturally no one had time to concern themselves with me. Princess Xianrong said the capital was in chaos. You have encountered such a matter again. It would be better to leave and lie low. I am truly uneasy leaving you here. I have already given instructions to the people inside. Outside there is a carriage. Change into these clothes and come with me. I hesitated. But father, your father has me to take care of him. Oh, right. Do you have any token on you? Quickly give it to me for safekeeping. Once everything is settled, I will send someone to fetch you back. I looked at her anxious face, and in a moment of distraction, Princess Xianrong pushed me. Why are you still standing there dazed? Hurry and follow me. Sister-in-law, father and mother, entrust them to your care. Princess Xianrong paused, then smiled. You silly girl, go quickly. Ah, the token, give it to me. I looked at her urgent gaze and slowly took out the jade pendant from my chest. Princess Xianrong snatched it and pushed me onto the carriage. Ah, see, quickly take Miss Kong away. The horse neighed and the carriage sped off. I lifted the curtain and looked back. Princess Xianrong stood in the middle of the road seeing me off, her smile carrying a trace of ruthlessness. I sighed softly. So it had finally come to this. The carriage headed toward the wilderness outside the city. I lit the fire starter in my hand, and a plume of distinctive purple smoke rose into the sky with the wind. Before long, someone stopped the carriage. What do you plan to do with Asi? I asked indifferently. Kill him. I had arranged to stay at a villa on the outskirts of the capital, sending out a carrier pigeon every day to the location Princess Xianrong had previously set up. Initially, she wanted me dead. Only if I died would the conflict between the Kong family and the Crown Prince become irreparable. With Princess Xianrong's methods, the incident at Tianfo Temple was full of loopholes. Only speed could cover it up. But His Majesty suddenly fell gravely ill, and plans could not keep up with changes. She had no choice but to use an inferior strategy. That year, the appearance of that martial world woman had been too suspicious. My father had nearly exhausted every means to investigate. From the few clues, he had traced every thread and finally suspected Princess Xianrong. It turned out, she had deliberately approached my elder brother from the beginning, waiting until my elder brother loved her deeply. She then laid a trap to make him die for Lu Feibai. In this way, my father, loyal to the Crown Prince, would develop resentment toward Lu Feibai and be gradually exploited by her step by step. 3 years ago, when I left the capital on the surface, it was because my engagement was broken and I left heartbroken. In reality, it was to investigate her. As a princess, she could command forces from the martial world. I had to clarify everything, step by step. These 3 years outside, I had experienced dozens of assassinations and poisonings, all narrowly escaping death, and all bore her shadow. I had to admit that Princess Xianrong was a master at manipulating people's hearts. Every month she sent a letter inquiring after me, and in her words she always mentioned how affectionately the Crown Prince and Chen Yifu were. At the end of the letter she would express indignation on my behalf. If I had not known the truth beforehand, I might have been deceived by her as well. At the beginning of the year, she suddenly wrote a letter urging me to return to the capital. In it she said that the Crown Prince and Chen Yifu had developed resentment, and that the Crown Prince, drunk, had called out my name. I was still surprised when father sent word that His Majesty's headaches were growing increasingly severe, and he had fainted several times. In an instant I understood. Since they could not kill me outside, they wanted me to return to the capital, and wait for an opportunity. On the day of my elder brother's memorial, Princess Xianrong was particularly attentive, always reminding me not to forget my hatred. On the day of the memorial she wore mourning clothes and white flowers, arrived early at the residence to offer incense, and even spoke up to defend me. She blamed Chen Yifu. She thought she had acted very convincingly. Over the past 3 years, every time the anniversary of my elder brother's death came, she had displayed extreme grief. Everyone in the capital knew she was deeply infatuated and conducted herself as a widow, but in truth, she had never visited my elder brother's grave. She and Chen Yifu, one enjoying fortune, the other suffering calamity, led Lu Feibai to Tianfo Temple. In this way, everyone had to die. If they could not have me, they would destroy me. The fastest way to destroy a woman was through her chastity. My father had only 1 son and 1 daughter. The son had died for Lu Feibai. If the daughter also lost her reputation because of him, the Kong family would lose its biggest trump card. At that time she would use benefits to lure him, and my father would very likely lean toward her. But she did not know that over the past 3 years, under the guise of traveling, I had thoroughly investigated all of her hidden cards, one by one. The Jinwoo guards arrived half a month later. The night before, the bells rang 9 times. His Majesty passed away. As dawn broke, the Jinwoo guards lined up in perfect formation and shouted in unison, "Welcome the Empress. Her Majesty returns to the capital." Tears welled up in my eyes and I could not suppress my smile. "Is the Crown Prince well?" the commander replied respectfully. "The late Emperor has passed. The Crown Prince ascended the throne last night. He is now the new Emperor. This morning he issued an edict to welcome the Empress back to the palace." I was stunned. Only then did I truly hear the 2 words express. The former Crown Princess. This subordinate only knows that His Majesty ordered us to welcome the Empress back to the capital. I am not clear on other matters. I nodded lightly, carrying the joy of having survived. Then I troubled the Jinwoo guards to escort me into the palace. Upon meeting Lu Feibai again, he had donned the dragon crown and become the new emperor. Even in mourning clothes, his entire being was filled with an imposing aura, showing no sign of dejection. I knelt and performed the grand ceremony, shouting, "Long live your Majesty." He personally helped me up and pulled me into his embrace. "Little Zhang, my little Zhang." In an instant, my tears soaked his shoulder. "Feibaijej, little Zhang does not want to leave you again." I became once more the young girl I once was, with only him in my eyes. He held me even tighter. If not for the teacher clarifying the truth, I would not have known that my little Zhang was so courageous. I blushed. "As long as I can help you, I am willing." He was deeply moved. Princess Xianrong had hidden too deeply. If not for me and my father, he would have fallen into her trap long ago. I let my father take all the credit, while I only said I had been traveling. During my travels, I happened to discover 2 secretly exploited gold mines, and found the matter suspicious, so I wrote to inform my father. My father and I had once wondered how Princess Xianrong could command forces from the martial world. Only later did we learn she had been secretly mining gold. Gold, along with grain, salt, tea and horses, were all imperial monopolies. She colluded with the martial world to seize them for herself. When the world grew restless, what did it matter if there was gold? There would never be a shortage of people willing to sell their lives for it. From my father's words, suspicion first arose. After thorough investigation, he confirmed Princess Xianrong harbored treasonous intentions and reported it to Lu Feibai. The latter was delighted by my father's loyalty and immediately declared he would establish me as Empress. 1 month later, the grand enthronement ceremony would also serve as my investiture as Empress. "Little Zhang, will you stand with me to receive the obeisance of all the people and enjoy this era of peace and prosperity?" I did not leap with wild joy or feel overwhelming emotion. On the contrary, I refused. "Feibaijej, I wish to be your wife, but the crown princess is still alive. If you depose the principal wife, the censors will surely submit memorials." Moreover, I smiled bitterly. My reputation has already been ruined. If I become empress, would that not bring shame upon you? He looked at me. "How much longer do you intend to hide from me? During the journey to Tianfo Temple, you already knew the danger, yet you still used yourself as bait. Before I chose the wrong path and stayed away from you for 3 years. Now that I have reclaimed this old flower, will you walk the rest of this road with me?" Tears of joy streamed down my face as I threw myself into his arms and no longer refused. Because Lu Feibai felt guilty toward me, the ceremony to invest me as empress was conducted with extraordinary grandeur. He even had me stand beside him to receive the obeisance of the 10,000 people. Court affairs gradually stabilized. It was time to deal with the traitors. Princess Xianrong, the mastermind behind the scenes, could not be spared by Lu Feibai. As a princess involved in imperial secrets, she was not sent to the Dali Temple or the capital prefecture. Instead, she was directly granted white silk. Her mother had already been ordered to commit suicide earlier, and her maternal relatives were dealt with one after another, some executed, some demoted. On the day of her execution, I went in person. Princess Xianrong looked at the poisoned wine and the white silk placed behind her and gave a self-mocking laugh. "So you're letting me choose?" "No." I shook my head. "You're overthinking, sister-in-law. First drink the mild poison. After 1 watch, when your intestines and organs have shattered to pieces, then you will be hanged." Princess Xianrong looked me up and down. I never knew little Zhang could be so vicious. My compliments. Compared to personally plotting the death of my own fiancé, I am still far inferior. Her face turned deathly pale, and her smile carried a trace of regret. In the dead of night, I once regretted it, but he was already dead. I had to make that death worthwhile. When I ascend as female emperor, I will posthumously fall as imperial husband. "Little Zhang, when did you start suspecting me?" I nearly laughed. My elder brother died so strangely. How could father not investigate? Besides, over the past 3 years you tried to assassinate me dozens of times. If you act, it is impossible to be completely clean. Princess Xianrong shook her head with self-mockery. The once majestic third princess was now no different from a prisoner. She was a prisoner. Little Zong, with your talent and intelligence, if you had allied with me when I ascended the throne, you would have become a female general. A woman as dazzling as you, how could you be content to rely on a man and become nothing more than a red thread clinging to someone else's body? That statement, upon careful thought, was not entirely wrong. If a woman could stand tall between heaven and earth, why must she rely on a man? A daughter who could read and write could also achieve great things. With her ambition to become female emperor, as a woman I could even understand it. I had even imagined it myself. It was a pity that one wrong step led to every subsequent step being wrong. In her plan, my elder brother had been a link that must die, because from beginning to end she had wanted to draw in the Kong family led by my father. Little Zong, believe it or not as you wish, I never truly wanted you dead. Those assassination attempts were only to fake your death. Once the great matter succeeded, I would still have let you rise as high as a general or minister. You told me every detail of the assassinations and deliberately shifted the blame onto Chen Yifu. You are far too clever. Even I was misled by you and thought you hated Chen Yifu to the bone. In the end, she murmured almost to herself. Tongyi had only one little sister, he loved you so much. How could I bear to let you die? I once rode horses with you, once drank wine and admired the moon with you. You must believe I truly regarded you as my own sister. Those words no longer stirred any ripples in my heart. I did not believe them. If she had truly loved someone, how could she have raised a hand to kill him? She had never loved my elder brother. She only regretted that the great matter had not succeeded. She was only afraid because she was about to die. I lifted the cup of poisoned wine. The auspicious hour has arrived. I invite sister-in-law to set off on your journey. Finally, fear appeared in her eyes, and 2 streams of tears flowed down. Little Zong, if there is still the slightest possibility, please place another red-tasseled spear in his name into the grave for me. In the underworld, I will still carry the token to find him and apologize. I gripped her chin and poured the mild poison down her throat. My elder brother, even if he has not yet reincarnated, will never meet you again. A venomous woman like you. He would still find you repulsive. How could he forgive you? She choked, laughed maniacally, and mumbled incoherently. Before long the poison took effect. She curled up on the ground, writhing into a ball for an entire watch. I reclined in my chair and silently watched her die slowly. When she lost control of her bowels and urine and begged me for a quick death, I said coldly, my elder brother's death was not quick either. If I had not feared Lu Feibai would grow suspicious, I would have chosen an even milder poison and let you suffer for 3 watches before dying. This Tianji poison is already far too merciful for you. When she finally stopped breathing, I used white silk to strangle her neck, staging the scene as a suicide by hanging. Lu Feibai hated this sister who had plotted to seize the throne down to his bones. Outwardly, he claimed she had died suddenly of illness. In reality, he ordered her body chopped into 8 pieces and dragged to the mass grave to be eaten by wild dogs. In my heart I felt truly satisfied. Elder brother, the way you died back then, she has now died the same way. Princess Xianrong, consider us even. After Princess Xianrong's death, on the very same day the man who had falsely accused me was stripped and subjected to death by 1,000 cuts. As for Chen Yifu, Lu Feibai genuinely asked for my opinion on how to deal with her. Chen Yifu was bewitched by the third princess and committed foolish acts. According to the law, she should be exiled to the frontier. Little Zhang, what do you think? In my heart I laughed coldly. In the end he still has feelings for Chen Yifu. If he truly wanted to punish her, he would have decided long ago. Why ask me? Outwardly, I showed no emotion and only said with concern, the frontier is bitterly cold. She is a woman with no one to rely on. How could she survive? Chen Yifu has a shallow temperament, but she has not committed any great evil. In my humble opinion, it would be better to demote her to commoner status and confine her to reflect for half a year. These words pleased him greatly. As expected, little Zhang thinks things through thoroughly. He followed my suggestion and everything settled down. My father submitted a memorial requesting retirement. Lu Feibai refused, saying my father was the head of the civil officials and also the emperor's teacher. He should continue serving the court to exhaust all loyalty until death is the duty of a subject. By saying this, he was clearly unwilling to let my father leave. In truth, my father had never truly intended to retire. The capital was prosperous. Retirement would mean returning to the countryside in the hills, where living conditions would clearly decline. This was partly a test, and partly because my father had helped him handle many unspeakable matters. Liu Feibai still harbored some apprehension. Secondly, now that I had become empress, the Kong family's wealth and honor had reached its peak. This could easily arouse the new emperor's displeasure. 3 times my father requested retirement, and 3 times he was refused. This proved that even now Liu Feibai remained satisfied with the Kong family. Moreover, my father had lost his only son, and had only me as a daughter. Maternal relatives interfering in politics was unlikely. Since that was the case, he had to make full use of us. Heaven itself seemed to be helping me. Half a year after our marriage, I was almost exclusively favored. Another season of auspicious snow arrived. Imperial physician Du Yuanpan took my pulse and found the happy pulse. Liu Feibai was overjoyed and bestowed rewards like flowing water. Outside Ganlu Palace, the snow covered the sky, while inside the hall it was as warm as spring. He wrote down many names, looked at them, then shook his head. None of them satisfy me. I suggest letting the Ministry of Rights choose the name. He looked at me with a hint of grievance. This is our first child. How can we let those old ministers name him? I suggested names, but they were all for a boy. What if it's a princess? My belly had not yet grown large, and the imperial physician could not yet determine the gender. I was even afraid it might not be a boy and disappoint him. Unexpectedly, he said, if it's a girl, I will love her just the same as a son. What is wrong with using a boy's name? Those words surprised me, and also brought an extra touch of emotion to my heart. From the moment I became pregnant, he had practically lived in Ganlu Palace. He even moved his memorials inside, to eat and stay with me. These 2 months were the most relaxed period for both of us. 3 months later, my belly gradually began to show. Du Yuanpan says there is an 80 to 90% chance it is a boy. A son means he can inherit the throne. On the eve of the winter solstice, my mother brought Kong Shenyi into the palace to visit me. My father had 3 brothers. Shenyi was the youngest daughter of my 3rd uncle. She had just turned 17, and was as beautiful as a flower among her siblings. The evil god favored her the most. She was the youngest with a delicate appearance and a round rosy face like a peach. My mother's intention in bringing her into the palace was all too clear. I asked Xianyi, little sister, are you willing? If not, your elder sister absolutely will not force you. Xianyi nodded repeatedly. To be able to stay with big sister every day, of course I am willing. My mother and Xian stayed in Ganlu Palace for 5 days. Liu Feibai naturally met her often. Xianyi was adorable. She was not afraid when she saw him and sweetly called him brother-in-law. She loved to play. Even in the middle of winter, she insisted on flying a kite. He came and saw her running in the small garden. It is only spring when people fly kites. Why are you playing now? Xianyi pulled the string, her eyes fixed on the kite, soaring above. Does your majesty not think flying a kite in winter is more interesting? Running through wind and snow, how beautiful it is. In that moment I clearly saw his gaze change. A lively beauty stood before him, who would not be moved. Ever since I became pregnant, he could not be intimate with me, and the 2 concubines in the palace did not suit his taste. Xianyi's appearance began to make his heart waver. 5 days later, my mother took her leave. He used the excuse of letting me rest and recuperate to keep them. I said it was improper according to etiquette, but he insisted. Mother-in-law may stay as long as she wishes. As long as little Zhang recuperates well, even staying in the palace for a lifetime would be fine. My mother thanked him and continued staying with Xianyi. He paid even more attention to her. As long as he was in Ganlu Palace, his eyes never left her. 10 days later, on the Lantern Festival, he held a banquet, drank too much, and with drunken, hazy eyes mistook Xianyi, who was making the bed for me. That night, the 2 of them consummated their relationship. The next morning, he regretted it, and said he had been too drunk and mistaken the person. I laughed coldly in my heart. Wine does not intoxicate people, people intoxicate themselves. If he had not harbored such thoughts, how could he have mistaken someone else for me? Outwardly, I showed no expression and only offered my congratulations. Afterward, Xianyi and I grew even closer. My generosity made him feel more at ease. A trace of sourness appeared in my smile, yet he also saw that I was truly a virtuous empress who loved her husband with all her heart. Xianyi was enfeoffed as Zhao Yi, ranking first among the 9 consorts, second only to me. Her life was like a fish in water. Just then, the Empress Dowager returned to the palace. Speaking of the Empress Dowager, she and I were not close. This mother-in-law had been a calm and taciturn person even when she was empress. It was often said her health was poor and she needed quiet rest. She rarely appeared at palace banquets. After the late emperor passed away, the Empress Dowager's health deteriorated further from excessive grief, so she went to Shoshan Villa to recuperate. The moment she returned, this mother-in-law smiled while hiding a dagger and aimed straight at me. She leaned weakly against the seat of honor, her smile kind, and waved for me to come. "Good child, come sit beside me." The Empress Dowager looked me over from head to toe, then removed the most precious moonglow glass hairpin from her hair. This was bestowed by the late emperor when grandmother was still empress. "Consider it a meeting gift for you." She personally inserted the hairpin into my hair. The thin, sharp needle brushed past my scalp, causing pain so sharp I had to secretly draw in a cold breath. No matter how beautiful jewelry is, it must have a matching item to be worthy. You are the same. Do you understand, child? It was clearly a reminder that I had occupied her son for too long. Now that I was empress, a daughter of the Kong family entering the palace could not hold too high a position. She would speak to the emperor and demote the younger Kong woman to Gu, a lower-ranking consort. Before I could reply, she handed me a list. "This is the list of consorts grandmother has chosen for the emperor. See if it is suitable." I opened it. The name Wang Renming suddenly appeared, with the position of noble consort. "Do not overthink it. Renming has long admired her cousin. Her health is weak. Now that you are pregnant and your position is secure, what harm is there in adding one more noble consort?" Her words were blunt. I could not refute them and could only comply. I was about to give birth, and it was inconvenient for me to move about. The Empress Dowager directly took over most of the palace authority, saying it was to let me rest and recuperate peacefully, while also bringing Wang Renming into the palace to attend to me. Every day when Lu Feibai came to pay his respects, he saw her by my side. A delicate beauty like she once again moved his heart. The methods I had once used on Xianyi were now being used against me by the Empress Dowager. Under her arrangements, Lu Feibai paid more and more attention to Wang Renming. He was eager to use wine as an excuse to consummate with her, but she pushed him away. My heart for my cousin is witnessed by heaven and earth, but a woman's chastity is as heavy as a mountain. Even if my cousin is the emperor, until we are properly married, I cannot act in secret. Her words carried hidden meaning, implying that Xianyi had used underhanded methods to rise in status. Unexpectedly, such words made Lu Feibai look at her differently and gradually grow colder toward her. With Xianyi only now did I truly understand. Once one enters the palace, what is deep is not only the high walls but also people's hearts. 10 months of pregnancy later, I gave birth to a boy. That day was the plowing festival. Lu Feibai had gone early to the farm outside the capital to personally plow the fields and could not return in time. The midwives and imperial physicians were already waiting in Ganlu Palace. The pain nearly made me faint. I only heard the midwife urging me to push harder. Before long, Suiyu the maid from the Empress Dowager's side arrived. I thought she had come to inquire after me, but the moment she opened her mouth, she said, "The Empress Dowager's headache has flared up violently. She needs several imperial physicians sent to Shokong Palace. This servant is blind. Does she not see that Her Majesty is giving birth? If all the physicians leave now and something happens to Her Majesty, how many lives do you have to compensate?" Xianyi spread her arms and blocked the birthing room door. "Her Majesty has experienced midwives. If the physicians do not arrive in time and something happens to the Empress Dowager, how many lives do you have to compensate you?" Xianyi was refuted but still refused to let anyone call the physicians away. After a long while, Suiyu had no choice and coldly told me to fend for myself. 2 watches later I let out a cry, and my lower body suddenly felt lighter. A son was born, the legitimate eldest son of Lu Feibai. The entire realm should have rejoiced that day when he returned. He had barely reached the gate when Suiyu stopped him. With a single sentence, "The Empress Dowager has fallen ill and lost consciousness. All the physicians are with the Empress, and no one is treating her." His face immediately turned cold. He only came to visit me the next day. Only then did I realize the Empress Dowager was a difficult opponent. This return was most likely aimed at me. The Langya Wang clan had been in decline in recent years. There were no talented people in the clan. Perhaps the Empress Dowager had not truly been recuperating before, but rather the Wang clan lacked sufficient power. Now that her son had ascended the throne, she wanted to raise her head and rely on women to consolidate the Wang clan's position. When Lu Feibai arrived, his expression was indifferent. "Empress, you have suffered." I struggled to sit up, enduring the pain to admit my fault. I said that because I was giving birth I had delayed treating the Empress Dowager's illness, and it was hard to atone. This consort requested to hand over palace authority, confine herself to reflect, and pray day and night for mother-in-law's blessings. The wound below tore open again, and blood flowed endlessly. These words were also reminding him. On that day I was giving birth, while his mother had only a headache. Seeing me covered in blood, he finally panicked. Where are the imperial physicians? How are you all taking care of the empress? The palace maids and eunuchs knelt all over the floor, none daring to speak. A gentle voice sounded from outside the door. Your Majesty wishes to fulfill filial piety, but you should not use the empress as an excuse. Do you know how dangerous it was yesterday? You have not seen it yourself. If the physicians had truly left, I fear the empress would have been one corpse with 2 lives. Lu Feibai turned his head. It was Chen Yifu. Meeting an old acquaintance felt like a lifetime apart. If she had not appeared today, perhaps he would have forgotten her. Chen Yifu carried medicine and fed it to me spoonful by spoonful while scolding him. The physicians here, aside from Du Yuanpan, all specialize in gynecology. How could they treat the Empress Dowager's headache? One sentence awakened him. Lu Feibai finally realized he had been led astray. The reason the physicians had not been seen was because the Empress had regained consciousness and sent them all to Shouqing Palace. Even the medicine was brewed by my own hands. A few simple sentences had reversed the situation. Guilt once again appeared in his eyes. Little Zhang, you have suffered. I shook my head and said no more. If I forgave so easily every time, would I not become someone easy to bully? In the past, this consort committed many mistakes. Dying 10,000 times would not atone for them. It was the Empress who kept this consort alive, and even provided food and clothing, sparing me from being bullied by eunuchs. How could she not treat your Majesty's birth mother with respect? If these words had come from someone else, Lu Feibai might not have listened. He might even have thought I was currying favor. But coming from my greatest enemy of the past, the effect was completely different between Chen Yifu and me. The conflict of interest was fundamental. Either she died or I died, yet the person who had once been defeated by me now stood up to speak for me. It was not in vain that from the moment Lu Feibai ascended the throne, I had calculated how to bring her under my wing. Lu Feibai could not bear to let her die only because of the deep affection he imagined he still felt for her. But with a soft beauty by his side, how could he still remember the old flame from years ago? At first Chen Yifu still harbored illusions. I immediately withdrew all the care I had given her. I let the palace maids and eunuchs humiliate her. Cold blankets, spoiled food, not even a silver charcoal brazier for winter. She began to panic and repeatedly sent people to plead with me. I had someone reply, if she could survive the winter without a charcoal fire, then we would talk. Since she did not know her place, she could taste a little more hardship. I wanted her to understand one thing: crushing her was no different from crushing an ant. Fortunately, she was clear-headed and ultimately submitted to me completely. That day she asked, "Are you not afraid I will stab you in the back again?" I smiled faintly. "You do not truly think that when I left the capital back then it was because you defeated me, do you?" Chen Yifu was speechless. After a long while she stammered, "You ancient people are truly terrifying." Originally, I had planned to have Chen Yifu appear after the talent selection, when beautiful women were plentiful. If she encountered strong opponents, she would be my hidden card to pull the rug out from under them. I had not expected this miscalculation to stumble upon the Empress Dowager. Chen Yifu regained imperial favor. Lu Feibai and I could also be considered to have resolved our past grievances. The full-month celebration for Little Hui was held with great grandeur. Lu Feibai personally bestowed the name Zonghuizong for the foundation of the Empire, Hui for the radiance of the sun. It was almost implicitly clear that this child was the heir to the realm. The Empress Dowager's headache flared up again, sometimes severe, sometimes mild. She did not attend. Since she wanted to use her headache as an excuse to make things difficult for me, I would oblige her and make the pain truly last a few more days. After the full-month ceremony, I immediately advised Lu Feibai to open a talent selection. Compared to the late emperor, he was not overly attached to femininity, but I understand clearly. Only 2 words allow an empress to sit securely in her position: virtuous and benevolent. After repeated persuasion, he finally agreed. From the time the edict was issued until the selected women entered the palace, half a year had already passed. The one with the highest rank was Wu Tongzhen, daughter of the Grand Commander of Huizhou, infeft as Feng Huifei. In addition, there were 2 second-rank consorts, Chen Yifu, now Feng Rongfei, and Wang Yingying from a collateral branch of the Langya Wang clan, now Feng Fei. The rest were mostly Jiyu and Balin. Yes, Xian Yi was also promoted by Lu Feibai from Jiyu to Zhaoyi, all thanks to my good mother-in-law. If she had been willing to live in harmony with me from the start, I would not have minded giving Wang Renming the position of noble consort. But she had insisted on throwing her weight around and wanted me to bow my head and yield the path to her granddaughter. Did she truly think the Kong clan was easy to bully? After that incident, I had Chen Yifu make the opening move and reveal the truth, then sent a letter to my father so he could find fault with the Wang clan. In just 3 days, a censor submitted a memorial, exposing Wang Renmeng's hidden marriage engagement. That censor was famously upright. My father only needed to leak a few clues for the censor to borrow a knife to kill. The Wang clan had few descendants, only one legitimate daughter, Wang Renmeng, and her health was weak. She was very intelligent. One sentence caused Xian Yi to be demoted from Zhao Yi back to Jie Yu, who would have thought a girl as clever as her had already been engaged long ago. The fiancé was the legitimate son of the Duke of Qi, who had once been demoted to commoner status by the late emperor. The censor blamed the head of the Wang clan for failing to teach his daughter properly, allowing a girl with a prior engagement to linger ambiguously in the palace, her ambitions as clear as Sima Zhao's. The head of the Wang clan flew into a rage and argued back right there in court. The Duke of Qi's family is so poor they cannot even afford a decent meal. Does he expect us to marry our daughter off to suffer? It is not wrong either. A daughter raised like jade and gold, who would want to marry her to a pauper? Lu Feibai stepped forward to mediate and the matter passed. However, that same day after the morning court he went to pay respects to the Empress Dowager, and used the excuse of letting Wang Renmeng leave the palace and return home. The matter came too suddenly. The Empress Dowager did not understand what had happened and could only assume I had been whispering in his ear. Lu Feibai paused. The Empress Dowager thought she had hit the mark and gave a soft snort. The Kong clan is full of cunning schemes. I fear the child will be led astray by her side. It would be better to bring him back for grandmother to raise. In that instant Lu Feibai suddenly understood the grievance I had suffered that day. Wang Renmeng did not want to leave. If not for her weak health, the position of crown princess would have been hers long ago. The beauty shed tears, more beautiful than Xish by 3 parts. But Lu Feibai no longer had the heart to appreciate it. Years ago, she had refused intimacy. He had thought she was proud and chaste. Who would have guessed it was to keep herself for the son of the Duke of Qi? He only felt his head turn green with rage. If not for the sake of the Wang clan as his maternal family, he would have punished the clan head. Even though Wang Renmeng wept and begged, he remained cold. Now that matters had reached this point, I did not wish to escalate further with the Empress Dowager. After Wang Renmeng left, I chose another daughter of the Wang clan to enter the palace. After secretly investigating, I selected Wang Ying, who had a gentle temperament and a loyal father, unlike my mother-in-law. As for the list the Empress Dowager had given, I tore it to shreds. The moment I left Shikang Palace from beginning to end, the only person one needed to win over was Lu Feibai. Whoever stood in the way and refused to listen could only be killed. Amitabha Buddha. What a sin! By the time little Hui was 5, there were already 3 princesses and 1 prince in the palace. Wang Ying gave birth to the eldest princess, who was raised under the Empress Dowager's knee. The Empress Dowager also caused less trouble. When she met me, she still pretended to be courteous. For several years she had wanted to stir up trouble, but whenever there was any movement, the Wang clan would be impeached. After a few such incidents, she no longer dared to go too far, and she certainly did not dare touch palace authority. The second princess was the daughter of Xiubalin, one of the 2 concubines from his time as heir apparent. Xiubalin used her seductive beauty and timid temperament. She had no ambition. I was very willing to support someone like her. The third princess was the daughter of Hua Zerong, who had come from the commoner talent selection that year. Her family background was not high, but she was well-read and knowledgeable. She could compose poetry and admire the moon with Lu Feibai. Currently she enjoyed favor. When paying respects, she was somewhat arrogant, but I did not mind with such a family background. Even if she gave birth to 10 princes, she could not threaten me. The mother of the remaining prince was Xian Yi. This woman made me look at her differently. Every month I carefully examined the records of the consort cycles. I remembered them clearly. I did not know what method she used, but she managed to become pregnant without anyone knowing, God or ghost unaware. 3 months later, when the pregnancy was stable, she finally announced it. She knelt beside me and begged for forgiveness, weeping bitterly. I personally helped her up. With one stroke of the brush I cannot write 2 characters Kong. How could this palace blame little sister? She clearly breathed a sigh of relief. That night I quietly extinguished 1 eternal lamp. If it is useless, in the future there is no need to show mercy. In recent years Chen Yifu had not had children. She claimed she came from another era and could not give birth in this one. She thought she had hidden it well. In truth, I knew long ago she secretly drinks contraceptive medicine. Never mind, if she does not want to give birth, then she will not. As long as my little Hui is safe, whether the other children exist or not does not matter. In recent years, the favor shown to me had gradually decreased. The harem was filled with beauties. Lu Fei-bai was affectionate. Who was his true love? Chen Yifu secretly complained that he was nothing more than a machine for producing offspring. I did not understand, but I knew it was not a good thing to say. Now she had also thought it through. All that talk of love, kneeling to beg to break off the engagement, it was actually to fulfill the system's requirements. After learning the system was gone, every day was Cold War. If not for fear that his father would be displeased, he would have deposed me long ago. As for the third princess, her heart was dark. She deceived me by saying she had a way to summon the system back and send her to the modern era, so I helped her. I quietly listened to her recount the past. The shadows of Princess Xianrong and my elder brother gradually faded in my memory. It turned out 6 years had already passed. Little Hui, now 8, was in theft as crown prince and officially left Ganlu Palace for the Eastern Palace. That small child already showed the bearing of an emperor. Every movement was steady and composed. I placed nearly all my hidden guards in the Eastern Palace. This was the Dragon Son, the Kong clan had raised with all their heart and soul. I had to ensure nothing unexpected happened to him. In these years, the realm was peaceful. Lu Fei-bai grew increasingly lazy with state affairs. Perhaps the beauties in the palace were no longer fresh, so he went out again to play the young master and servant girl game, bringing back quite a few women. Among them was a fisherwoman who was already pregnant when she entered the palace. Lu Fei-bai liked her very much, thinking she had a wild beauty, and directly infected her as Min Tu-yi of the 9th rank. Du Wenpan took her pulse once and confirmed it was a boy. I did not care much without family backing. No matter how many children she gave birth to, she could not sit in that position. But Min Tu-yi did not know her place. She repeatedly provoked me. Not only did she fail to pay respects, she even loudly declared that the mandate of heaven had not yet been decided, and no one knew who would be emperor in the future. It seemed she also had ambitions. I laughed and casually instructed Du Yuanpan. No matter how rare the medicinal ingredients, use them on her. I wanted the little prince born fair, plump, and healthy. On the day of delivery, because the fetus was too large, Minty's screams of agony lasted an entire day and night. In the end, there was no other way. She could only have a cesarean section. There had been precedents among the common people, but the mother's survival rate was very low. Fortunately, Min Tu-yi had a strong life. Mother and child were safe, but her vital energy was greatly damaged. From now on, she could not go a day without medicine. Moreover, the scar on her abdomen was like a centipede. Lu Fei-bai visited twice, then never came again. Min Tu-yi's status was low, so the third prince naturally needed a foster mother of higher rank. In recent years, among the high-ranking consorts, only Wu Tongzhen had no children. Her appearance was ordinary and her favor was ordinary. She was a suitable choice, but her status was too high. If she had a child, it would be difficult to avoid her developing other intentions. The Empress Dowager also wanted this child, but her health grew weaker by the day. Lu Fei-bai did not agree. Just as he was still considering a foster mother for the third prince, the astronomer observed the stars at night and discovered that the head star in the southwest was shifting, while the female star in the southeast was also moving. When the two stars converged, the head star suddenly shone brilliantly. The head star lay in the head of the black tortoise, the leader of the 7 stars of the north, symbolizing the position of the Son of Heaven. The female star lay on the front back of the black tortoise, and was a star symbolizing auspicious omens. The southwest direction was the Shu Palace where Min Tu-yi resided, and the southeast was the residence of Wu Weifi. The astronomer did not speak directly, but Lu Fei-bai understood the meaning. When the two stars combined, the ruler of the realm would change. He was not yet dead, yet the head star already wanted to change masters. Great misfortune. He asked for a way to resolve it. The astronomer replied that as long as the head star and female star did not combine, it could be broken. Lu Fei-bai breathed a sigh of relief. Fearing unforeseen changes, he directly handed the third prince over to Chen Yifu to raise. Chen Yifu was a person from another world, not accepted by the aristocratic families. With her as foster mother, plus the low status of the birth mother, the third prince could not stir up any waves. At 4 years old, when it was time to enter the upper study, Lu Fei-bai was still slow to appoint a grand tutor. Chen Yifu did not care. After all, he was a prince. For his entire life, he would have food and drink without worry. Knowing how to read was enough. Little Wei was now 14. Lu Fei-bai personally brought him to court, and he could already handle state affairs independently. 3 years earlier, during the second talent selection, the harem grew even more crowded. Little Hui's position was secure, and I no longer cared whether I gave birth to boys or girls. The new consorts entered the palace, and the old consorts and concubines were all promoted in rank. Wu Huifei was promoted to noble consort, Wang Ying to pure consort, Chen Yifu to virtuous consort, and Kong Shenyi to deferential consort. The mothers of the other princesses were also promoted into the 9 consorts. The high-ranking consorts now occupied half the positions. Unfortunately, none of the new consorts had given birth. Lu Feibai was frustrated. The imperial physician tactfully said that in recent years he had not known moderation, and his body had been damaged. He would find it difficult to have more children. Lu Feibai was so angry he wanted to behead the physician. I stepped forward to plead for mercy, and only then was the physician spared the death penalty. He was demoted and exiled 300 li from the capital, with 30,000 taels of silver, enough for him and his family to live comfortably outside the capital for the rest of their lives. After an autumn rain passed, the Empress Dowager passed away. This was the first time Little Hui presided over a funeral ceremony. It was organized with great solemnity, with the Kong clan as his maternal family supporting him. His prestige at court grew day by day. This in turn displeased Lu Feibai. Xianyi regained favor. The second prince's status also rose accordingly. When Lu Fei went to morning court, the second prince walked beside him, replacing the chief eunuch in announcing the court. At the same time, Little Hui was criticized for several minor matters and was harshly reprimanded. The civil and military officials held their breath, exchanging glances. The wind at court had changed. Little Hui came to pay his respects to me, his expression normal. I wanted to say a few words, but he told me not to worry. Thunder or gentle rain, both are the emperor's grace, whether it is my second brother or the minister's, as long as it pleases father, that is filial piety. I was both pleased by his composure and pained that he carried too much. The days I spent in the harem were not easy either. After being emperor for many years, Lu Feibai grew increasingly autocratic and dictatorial. The affection we once shared had also been worn away by time. Before long, Xianyi was promoted to noble consort, her status second only to mine. In the past, she had never been late for morning greetings. Now she no longer needed to pretend. Every 3 days she arrived late, her head adorned with pearls and jade, even more ostentatious. It was hard on her. She had been acting for so many years in previous years. When touring outside the palace, Lu Feibai had only brought Little Hui. This year he brought the second prince as well. He ate and stayed with the second prince, while Little Hui became an outsider. Some officials followed whichever way the wind blew and began to flatter the third uncle. Even my father was cold-shouldered several times. Passing through Liqiu Mountain, the second prince wanted to walk and admire the scenery. Little Hui advised against it, saying Liqiu Mountain had fierce beasts, and it was unwise to take risks. In front of Lu Feibai, the second prince sneered. We have not even confirmed whether there are fierce beasts. Even if there were, with father's dragon aura protecting us, what beast would dare approach? Besides, if one retreats at the first sign of difficulty, what will happen in the future when elder brother goes to war and sees a strong enemy? Will he also retreat without fighting? Good. As expected of my son, he has spirit. Feibai deliberately elevated the second prince in front of the officials and lowered Little Hui's dignity. It has been a long time since I admired the scenery of Liqiu Mountain. Today I will go on a trip with Hong Ni. The two of us will only bring a few elite soldiers, father and son walking side by side, a kind father and filial son. Little Hui followed behind, ignored. This father-son outing lasted only 2 days before they returned. A fierce tiger pounced. Its claws tore 2 long gashes through Lu Feibai's soft armor. Blood soaked his robes, dyeing them a deep purple. Little Hui, who had been walking behind, could have escaped, but to shield Lu Feibai, he gritted his teeth and charged forward using his sword to block the tiger. If not for the elite soldiers arriving in time, I fear my little Hui would have lost his life in the tiger's jaws. Looking back at the second prince, only a few scratches on his disheveled hair with shallow traces of blood, he was almost completely unharmed. Lu Feibai's wounds looked severe, but had not damaged tendons or bones. With simple bandaging and top-grade wound medicine he would recover. Only my little Hui had deep bite marks on his arm that reached the bone. That very day he developed a high fever and fell into unconsciousness. Lu Fei personally kept vigil, outside Little Hui's window, using a cold cloth to wipe the sweat from his brow every half-watch. Little Hui's brows were tightly furrowed, lost in unconsciousness. Even in his delirium he shouted, "Father, run, father, you were wrong, father, do not be stubborn. As long as little Hai recovers, even if I must become retired emperor tomorrow, it is fine." In that moment, paternal love surged to its peak. All the suspicion he had once held toward little Hui vanished like smoke the instant the boy had thrown himself in front of danger to protect him. I stood in the shadows, weeping silently. If anything happened to little Hui, this consort would not go on living either. The guilt in Lu Feibai's eyes deepened. "Little Zhang, these past years I was foolish and wronged, both you and our son. From now on, I will make it up to you." I performed my part with such heartfelt sincerity that even his remorse reached its zenith. Do all men behave this way? They want an intelligent woman, yet not too intelligent. They want a woman who loves them with all her heart, yet also hopes she is generous and virtuous. If a woman were truly omnipotent, what purpose would men serve in this world? Just that thing below the waist? How utterly worthless. The emperor and empress embraced and wept. The consorts were moved and stepped forward one after another to offer comfort. The second prince, covered in wounds, saw that no one was paying him attention, and began moaning incessantly. Xianyi hurried over. "Hongni, what is wrong with you?" The second prince clutched his chest and said, "Mother, your son is fine, you should still treat elder brother first." Lu Feibai glanced at the second prince and gave a subtle signal to the imperial physician standing nearby. The physician immediately stepped forward to take the second prince's pulse. The boy even pretended to refuse at first, putting on a show of filial devotion. Xianyi urged anxiously, "Let the imperial physician examine you properly. You are also father's flesh and blood. If anything happens to your health, how could father rest easy?" Only then did the second prince extend his arm, his face still full of filial concern. "Your son is truly fine. As long as father is safe, that is the blessing of all the people under heaven." Chen Yifu, standing nearby, rolled her eyes slightly. These two are both actors putting on a play. Her voice was not quiet, yet Shen Yi pretended not to hear. After finishing the examination, the imperial physician said, "The second prince's body is not in serious danger." Xianyi immediately chanted, "Amitabha Buddha, thank the gods and Buddhas for their protection." Only the physician hesitated for a long while before looking up at Lu Feibai's expression. "Speak freely. The second prince's kidney qi is deficient and his foundation is unstable. Although his body has not contracted any serious illness, in the matter of continuing the family line, it will likely be difficult." The physician spoke with increasing caution, fearing the emperor would vent his anger on the messenger. The atmosphere in the hall instantly froze. Xianyi stood stunned. "Impossible. I have his pulse taken every 3 days. None of the other physicians ever mentioned this. You must have misdiagnosed." The imperial physician trembled. "The second prince is at the age of maturity. Previously he was still young and the pulse signs were not yet clear. Only an experienced physician of many years can detect it. If noble consort does not believe me, you may summon the physicians outside to consult together. This is no small matter." 3 physicians took turns examining the pulse. Their conclusions were identical. Continuing the family line would be arduous. Xianyi completely collapsed. She could no longer maintain her dignity and screamed, "No, impossible, you must all be wrong." In that instant, all her schemes and hopes shattered with those 5 words. Difficult to continue the family line. An emperor could be wounded, an emperor could die, but an emperor absolutely could not lack an heir. The second prince, who had still retained some composure, now began to panic as well. "Impossible. Just a few days ago I was still fooling around with the palace maids. How could there be a problem?" The imperial physician explained that while the act of intimacy itself might not be hindered, the essence he released was too thin to produce an heir. "No, I do not believe it." "Enough," Lu Feibai roared. "Both of you, get out of my sight." He pointed straight at Xianyi and the second prince, showing no mercy as he dismissed them. Xianyi wept like pear blossoms in the rain. "Your Majesty, Hongni has attended by your side all these years. Even if he has no merit, he has suffered hardship. You cannot abandon him." "Imperial physician, tell His Majesty, quickly say that Hongni's condition can still be cured." The imperial physician knelt on the ground, trembling and not daring to speak. His meaning was crystal clear. There was fundamentally no possibility of a cure. Lu Feibai was annoyed to the point of fury. "Merit? Hardship? Are you referring to the moment that beast pounced and he pushed me forward while running away himself? Family disgrace must not be aired in public." He had not wanted to voice this humiliating matter. After all, the second prince was the son he had personally elevated. The trip to Liqiu Mountain had also been approved by him. Being bitten by the tiger could be considered self-inflicted. Little Kong had often performed in front of him. He was not unaware. He had merely wanted to suppress the crown prince, and was happy to watch their internal struggle. Only little Zhang and my little Hui had endured and compromised all these years. Their true nature had never changed. Little Hui remained unconscious for 3 full days before waking. Lu Feibai kept vigil by his side the entire time and did not attend court. The first words little Hu spoke upon waking were, "How is father? Was he injured?" Lu Feibai was so moved that tears fell. "Good child, father is fine." Little Hui breathed a sigh of relief and drifted back to sleep. After this incident, little Hui's position as crown prince became completely unshakable. The second prince had, with a single push that day, personally shoved his own future into the abyss. Added to his inability to produce an heir, Lu Feibai now regarded him with utter disgust. That very month he found an excuse to enfeoff the second prince as Prince of Qi and banished him to a poor fief. Although my third uncle's entire family shared the surname Kong, in the past 2 years they had grown increasingly arrogant, secretly selling official posts and accepting bribes. When the censors exposed everything to the root, they were demoted to county magistrates of the 7th rank, and forced to leave the capital that very night. As for noble consort Xianyi, although she had committed no great crime, with her father already demoted, she too was stripped by Lu Feibai from 1st rank noble consort down to 9th rank filling lady, falling straight from heaven into hell. After Little Fu recovered, I repeatedly warned him, "In the future you must never take such risks again. If you must stake your life for a scheme, your son will only do so once in this lifetime." Only then did I truly feel at ease. This child was truly born to be an emperor, cold and ruthless to a terrifying degree. Sometimes even I could not guess what he was thinking. Later, when paying respects, Xianyi returned to her former humble and deferential appearance, not daring to arrive late again. After the consorts dispersed, she still tried to chat with me as if nothing had happened. I gave a light yawn. "This palace is tired, you may withdraw." Xianyi's eyes brimmed with tears as she knelt and begged, "Elder sister, please forgive me this once. I was only momentarily confused and failed to recognize my place. All these years I never once thought of harming you." I laughed coldly. "Your courage I already saw it the year I gave birth to little Hui." Her face turned deathly pale. I remained calm. "What is elder sister saying? I do not understand." The physicians predicted another 7 or 8 days until delivery. Why did labor begin the moment His Majesty left? Ganlu Palace was tightly guarded. The only person who could approach me was you. You wanted to kill the mother and keep the child so the Wang clan could rise. At that time you would benefit, and your father would replace mine as clan head. Her kneeling figure instantly collapsed, so elder sister already knew. That day, although an unexpected incident occurred, nothing serious ultimately happened, because before giving birth I had already had father secretly take control of all the midwives and physicians' families. The slightest disturbance and they would be dealt with to protect both me and the child. You wanted to act but found no opportunity. Do you know why I did not kill you? Because this harem is far too boring. I had to find some amusement for myself. If I alone shone too brightly, sooner or later the emperor would grow suspicious. I needed an intelligent person to highlight my own virtue and magnanimity. Do you understand? Xianyi could not stop trembling and lowered her head, not daring to look at me. I continued. "Good little sister. Did you think that even if heaven was high and the emperor far away, you could still collude with the Wu clan and secretly kill your way back to the capital? Or simply repeat the old trick and eliminate the crown prince outright?" Xianyi jerked her head up. I added, "Do you know why your previous poisonings all failed? Because the Wu clan had long since been turned by me and became my people." Upon hearing this, she looked as if she had been struck by lightning. The trump card she had been so proud of was in my eyes nothing but a joke. The stargazing incident back then had implicated noble consort Wu and prevented her from raising the third prince. Xianyi had seized upon that very point, stirring up trouble and causing noble consort Wu to be used by her. But people gather for profit. If the Wu clan could act for her sake, they could naturally turn against her for mine. All these years the Wu clan had received only ordinary favor and never actively competed for it. In her heart she had someone she loved. Fine wine could not dispel her sorrow. Hiding in the deep palace's loneliness, she truly only wanted to raise a child. The matter of the third prince was ultimately my fault toward her. Harboring hatred, she chose to ally with Xianyi. I did not blame her. I merely saw through people's hearts and brought the person she loved before her. She wept uncontrollably and regarded me as her benefactor. I promised her that as long as she obeyed, when little Wei ascended the throne I would fake her death and allow her to leave the palace, flying far away with her beloved. From that day on, the Wu clan completely sided with me. Xiant now sat limply on the floor like a puddle of mud. She understood clearly that she no longer had the slightest chance of winning. Elder sister, I was wrong. I was truly wrong. We grew up together since childhood. You once helped me teach my stepmother a lesson. You loved me so much. You will forgive me, won't you? Yes. I had once loved her very much. I loved her because her mother died early and her stepmother bullied her. She never had enough to eat, yet still pretended to be cheerful and innocent to please others. That round-faced girl's smile curved like a new moon. Every time she saw me, she sweetly called Big Sister and would give me the few candies she had in her hand. The year I became pregnant, when it was time to choose a daughter of the Kong clan to enter the palace and help consolidate favor, the first person I thought of was her. I wanted to help her become a favored consort, no longer looked down upon, living a life of wealth and glory. Yet she betrayed me the matter of secretly reporting during my childbirth, endured the pain and let it pass. Her getting pregnant on her own, I could regard as the deep palace being lonely and having a child for company being good. As long as that child could not produce heirs and knew her place, I could still tolerate it. But the moment she first laid hands on little Hui, I knew she could no longer be kept. Dealing with her was never difficult. What I needed was to eliminate her in a way that made Lu Feibai completely drop his guard toward little Hui. Now that the overall situation was settled, she and her son naturally no longer needed to be kept. She crawled to my feet and clung tightly to my legs. Big sister, forgive me, I was truly wrong. You once said one stroke of the brush cannot write two characters Kong. I am the little sister you loved most. Can you forgive me just once? She did not truly know she was wrong. She only knew she had no way back and was about to become fish on the chopping board. Zhenju stepped forward from behind, pushed her away, and ignored her heart-wrenching sobs. I no longer have the slightest mercy left. Live well for the days that remain. Ningxuang courtyards. She thought I meant I would spare her life. In truth, I was only saying my final farewell. How could an empress, who was a model for all under heaven, dirty her own hands with blood? I only needed to use a little trick so the second prince would continue his debauchery a few more times and openly express discontent. Even while drunk, he blurted out reckless words, draping himself in the dragon robe and calling himself, I, the emperor. That alone was enough to make Lu Feibai furious enough to call him an unfilial son. In recent years, Lu Feibai's headaches had flared up more and more frequently, exactly like his father when he was alive. Little Hui and the third prince attended by the dragon bed, day and night. Perhaps knowing he did not have much time left, Lu Feibai summoned his ministers every day. Only after finishing state affairs did he have time to see his consorts. The favored consorts he would summon privately. After leaving, each one wept bitterly, not knowing whether they cried for themselves or for him. Among them, only two did not cry. One was noble consort, which she did not love the emperor and could not cry even if she wanted to. The other was Chen Yifu. Do you know how ridiculous he was? He spoke nothing but nonsense the entire time, and in the end even asked me, can the system truly not be restarted? If the system were still here, I would have been invincible long ago. Why would I need to be here acting like a beast of burden? I could not help but laugh. Everyone fears death, emperors even more so. Once dead, everything turns to nothing. Gold, silver, and power all slip from one's hands. That is why they try every method to prolong life, whether refining elixirs or seeking immortality medicine. Chen Yifu had once used the system to help him greatly. All these years he had still secretly searched for a way to restart it. Unfortunately, everything was like flowers in a mirror or the moon in water. Once the mission was complete, the system vanished, and his final hope disappeared with it. The last person he saw was me. By then he could only stay conscious for 2 watches each day. The rest of the time he was delirious. I sat by the bed and quietly kept him company. He reached out his thin, dry hand and grasped mine, calling emotionally, Little Zhang, these years have been hard on you. Tears welled in my eyes as I covered his hand with mine. This consort has not suffered. Lu Feibai gave a self-mocking laugh. How could you not have suffered? My little Zhang once loved riding and archery, the most hitting a target from 100 paces even men could not compare. The red-robed girl on horseback was finally gone. Memories surged like a tide. Yes, I had once loved riding very much. Both riding and archery had been taught personally by my elder brother. Back then my elder brother was already engaged to Princess Xianrong, and Lu Feibai and I were still happily antagonistic. The 4 of us had once ridden through the night, drinking wine along the way from the capital all the way to Kangzhou. We had also climbed mountains all night, just to watch the sunrise over Mount Lu. Now, the dead were gone. Grudges dissolved. The living continued their endless struggle for power. I forced a smile. If your majesty wishes to see, this consort will change clothes right away. He only smiled. After all these years you are still so beautiful, but I have grown old like a dying lion. Do you despise me? How could I? Fei Baijij will always be the youth in little Zhang's heart. Lu Feibai gripped my hand again and rambled on about many old stories, saying he had once taken the wrong path but fortunately turned back in time and had not missed me. That unfilial son in Qizhou will receive news of his death by illness in a few days. After all, he is still my son. Give him a proper burial. I nodded. Once dead, a little honor means nothing. As for the third prince, I see the child is gentle. As long as he commits no mistakes, grant him a fertile fief and raise him well. Little Hui is the flesh and blood of both you and me. He handles matters steadily, neither arrogant nor hot-tempered. Entrusting the realm to him, I am at ease. At the end he asked me, voice trembling, tell me honestly, did you truly love me? My tears flowed even harder as I silently nodded. Lu Feibai smiled with relief. The person I worry about most in this world is you. Are you willing to go with me? In the next life, we will still be husband and wife. I nodded without the slightest hesitation and threw myself into his arms. Fei Baijij, do not abandon little Zhang. Take little Zhang with you. We were not born on the same day, let us die in the same grave. I buried my face in his chest and wept until my heart broke. He gently wiped my tears. Fool. How could I bear to let you die with me? You still have a long life ahead. I pressed closer to his chest, tears flowing like a broken string. How fortunate! If I had hesitated even a little, I might have been forced to accompany him in death. That night Lu Feibai passed away in Taiji Hall. I had originally wanted to let him live a few more days, but when he mentioned accompanying him in death, I decided to avoid any complications. Dying earlier was better. As expected, Little Hui ascended the throne as the new emperor. I became Empress Dowager. However, Little Hui did not stay in Taiji Hall, but moved to the newly built Lingzhu Palace. For this I had to thank Chen Yifu. Back then, to show her submission, she had told me that within the hollow walls of Taiji Hall, the incense used for fumigation was mixed with a type of flower from the capital. Prolonged exposure to its scent caused headaches. Over time the headaches worsened until the heart failed and death came. No wonder every emperor suffered from headaches. Outsiders thought it from exhausting himself over state affairs. Turns out, it was slow poisoning from Zijing blossoms. I asked her why she had not told Lu Feibai. She replied, he made me a wife and then a concubine. He owed my father too much. Why should I tell him? Later she asked me why I had not told Lu Feibai either. I mimicked her tone from back then when he broke off our engagement. He owed my father too much. Why should I tell him? Chen Yifu laughed loudly. Brilliant. I actually thought you truly loved him. I only smiled and did not reply. She asked again, you speak so frankly, are you not afraid I will go report you? I looked at her with a half smile. At this point, do you still think you are qualified to be my opponent? She immediately shrank her neck and trembled as she expressed her loyalty. From now on I will definitely obey the Empress Dowager. If I cannot be a favored concubine, then I will be the chief female attendant. No, even being a little dog beside the chief female attendant is fine. Woof woof! All these years she had been very sensible. Now she had also become an imperial dowager consort. Once she secretly came to me and asked to leave the palace. Leave the palace for what? To travel the world and write an eternal legend. I set down my teacup. I will give you one more chance. She dropped to her knees with a thud. Empress Dowager, spare my life. This consort only wants to go out and open a shop to find some amusement. What kind of shop? A male brothel. Get out. Yes, not long after Little Hui ascended the throne. I arranged for noble consort Wu to fake her death and leave the palace. The man had waited alone for her more than 20 years. He was truly a true man. It seemed there was still genuine affection in this world after all. I gave noble consort Wu 10,000 taels of gold, so the two of them could live in a small border town, never to return to the capital, and sent people to take turns monitoring them. If from then on they lived in harmonious affection, I would bless them the slightest suspicious movement, and they would be immediately executed. After the second prince died, Xianyi never stepped outside again. She remained in her room reciting sutras and meditating. I personally saw her off on her final journey. At that time she was dressed simply, without a single piece of jewelry on her body, yet still beautiful enough to make one feel pity. Big sister, elder sister has come. Today is a joyous day. Has grandmother come to see you off on your final journey? I came only to watch with my own eyes as my enemy fell into ruin and disgrace, so my heart could be at peace. Not wanting to revisit our past as sisters, I gave a subtle signal. The eunuch behind me immediately stepped forward, wrapped white silk around her neck, and Xianxi's face instantly turned red from suffocation. Before long, she stopped breathing. Back then, Princess Xianrong had not been my match. Now Yu Kongxianyi are even less so. In the third year of my time as Empress Dowager, the Empress personally presented 2 young eunuchs with red lips and white teeth, whose skills and attendance were excellent. I was quite satisfied. Chen Yifu shamelessly asked me to give her one as well. Fine, considering she had been sensible all these years. I told the Empress to select one more for her. In Lingzhou Palace, little Hui's body was healthy, and he still had energy left to expand the borders, forcing the Rong and Qiang to bow their heads in submission. The frontier had been peaceful ever since, and no more princesses needed to be sent for political marriages. Little Hui treated his younger sisters extremely well and selected only the most talented for them. When the third prince turned 14, he was infected as Prince of Guanzhong. Guanzhong was not far from the capital and rich in resources, extremely fertile. Yet the third prince, only 14, knelt in the middle of court and refused to rise, saying he had no achievements and no learning, and that he lived until today only thanks to the emperor's grace. He did not seek a fief, only to remain in the capital and share the emperor's burdens. Little Hui was deeply moved and changed the enfeoffment to Prince of Hui, granting him a mansion in the capital. From then on there would be no more feudal princes, and all land under heaven would belong to the Son of Heaven. Seeing the Prince of Hui's performance, I finally agreed to let Chen Yifu leave the palace. After all, when someone finishes their work, they should be given a little sweetness. After giving birth to the legitimate heir, the Empress, just like I had done years ago, requested to open a talent selection. Little Hui refused, saying they must practice frugality and also expand the borders. He only allowed the Empress to select a few suitable daughters of aristocratic families to enter the palace. The Empress compiled a list and respectfully presented it to me. I took it without opening it and casually tossed it into the charcoal brazier. You are the Empress. The central palace, handle it yourself. Grandmother is old now, this is your era. The Empress was so frightened she knelt and expressed her loyalty. She thought I was testing her, but I truly did not want to manage anymore. My son had become emperor. I was Empress Dowager, no one could surpass me now. All the new consorts entering the palace could only show me reverence and try to please me. Why should I care who gained favor and who lost it? The Empress was a fortunate person. She successively gave birth to 2 sons and 3 daughters. As I grew older, I often felt the deep palace was lonely. The Empress took the initiative to ask me to raise her youngest daughter. Although she spoke many flowery words, this time I was genuinely delighted. Having a child by my side made things less cold. At the age of 70, one day a servant reported that Chen Yifu had fallen asleep and never woken up again. She had a shrewd mind and over the decades had earned quite a bit of silver for little Hui. Therefore I turned a blind eye to the male lover she had been keeping. There are no eternal enemies in this world, only eternal interests. This saying holds true everywhere. Noble consort Wang and Hua Zhaoyi had also passed away 4 years earlier. In the palace now only I and Chu Taifei remained. She had climbed from a concubine in the heir's residence all the way to imperial dowager consort, and even smoothly given birth to a princess. She must also be an intelligent person. Intelligent people have their own way of living. There is no need to compete. Only when you die and I live is the final outcome. Time passed slowly. I gradually became the old ancestor in everyone's mouths. That year, at the end of winter, a bitter chill had settled into the bones and heavy snow blanketed the sky. I sat before the door, watching the young palace maids in the courtyard building a snowman. My eyes saw only a vast expanse of white, when suddenly I heard the rapid sound of horse hooves and a fine steed neighing. My elder brother exhaled white mist, sitting astride his horse and reaching his hand toward me. Today is the 15th. After mother finished wrapping the dumplings, big brother will take little sister to see the lantern festival. In that moment I forgot my aged body, and without the slightest hesitation, extended my hand to my elder brother. I sat behind him, watching his back, whipping the horse forward with heroic spirit, the sound of hooves gradually disappearing into the wind and snow. Empress Dowager Duani passed away at the age of 79.